Please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to our December 8th City Council meeting, the last City Council meeting of the year. And we begin every City Council meeting with our open comment period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that we will not be taking public testimony later this evening during a public hearing on. Each person has up to 2 minutes to speak for a total of 20 minutes. I will be keeping track of time through a couple methods. One, the stoplight here, and then the stopwatch at up there. And I also please, because of the limited time, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. I'd also ask speakers to be concise to allow more people to speak during the designated time. Participants are further encouraged to limit comments generally to topics that are within the scope of the council and our jurisdiction. If you have any materials to share with the council, you may give them to the city clerk to my right here to distribute to us. And council members and staff do not respond directly to your comments during the public comment period, but instead will follow up on any specific requests you have separately. When you get to the microphone, please state your name clearly, and we will start with Lindsay Williams.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Duos Williams. I'm the Artistic Director of the Rochester Civic Theater and co-chair of the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival Region 5. KCACTF is a national nonprofit organization whose mission is to encourage, recognize, and celebrate the work of college theater students around our country. Each year, the 7 states of Region 5 come together for our annual week-long festival with over 70 colleges and universities participating. As co-chair, it was my job in 2023 to secure our next festival location. I knew that Rochester had not only the theater infrastructure that the festival needs, but also a beautiful conference facility at the Mayo Civic Center, ample hotel rooms, easy parking, accessible skyways, excellent dining, and of course, affordability for our schools and our students. It was a joy to work with Experience Rochester to secure Rochester as the new home of KCACTF Region 5 for the next 3 years. Over 1,200 students, faculty, and professional theater artists will be arriving on January 18th, bringing their creativity, artistry, and energy to downtown Rochester. This week-long festival represents a significant economic opportunity for our community, with these 1,200 visitors filling hotel rooms, dining at local restaurants, and patronizing downtown businesses during what's typically a slower winter season. Earlier this year, I stepped into my new leadership role at the Civic Theater alongside Jacqueline June Johnson as managing director, and we are so proud of the Civic Theater's partnership with the City of Rochester, Experience Rochester, and the Mayo Civic Center, as well as with our thriving arts ecosystem, including That Theater Company, Absolute Theater, Hometown Opera, Rochester Dance Company, and many more. While our current production of Frozen is completely sold out, we invite you all to experience the remarkable work that is happening at the Civic Theater sometime this spring. Thank you so much for supporting the arts in Rochester.
Thank you. Next up, we have Molly Dennis.
Right. Well, thank you. So on this month's Mayor's Rochester Voices, I listened to the tri-government leaders who talked about resources for people experiencing homelessness. So I would just like maybe a raise of hands on the dais on how many people have actually volunteered for the warming center. I know I have. So you have? Awesome. 2, 3. Fabulous. Okay. So we want to be where people are, and I hope everyone has experience to do so. President Schubring, you mentioned you thought that we need more trust, respect, and building connections. And I went to the event on Thursday, which was the public forum for better public meetings. I brought the agenda. We advertised it the week of, and I saw a lot of elected officials, including Councilmember Miller, Councilmember Keene, Councilmember Doring, and Mayor Norton and President Schubring there. But I did not see very many people. And I know Mayor has talked about the STP, right? The same 10 people showing up to everything. Well, I find it kind of frustrating that the elected officials are not inviting and encouraging other people to come to this important meeting. If you go to my public Rochester Facebook community page, advocate page, you will see photos of that event and who attended and who did not. So those who attended, I appreciate that, because that was a very important meeting. And I feel like it is tiresome that our city is not including people, that not reaching out, and it's the veneer of saying that we are doing this public engagement. It's something that we as a community, I feel it's essential to have voices at the table that aren't the same 10 people that the mayor says attends everything. And that means that to foster participatory budgeting in people's taxes, public engagement, that we need to stop this window dressing of trying to say that we're checking off the
Thank you,
things
Ms. Dennis.
and actually do follow-up. So I would like to see follow-up from this meeting.
Thank you.
From all the elected officials who attended. Thank you so much.
Next up, we have John Flaga.
Hi, my name is John Flagg. I just wanted to introduce myself, and I am a member of the community at large here, and I just wanted to say that we are present and accounted for, and we're interested in how this city develops from here forward.
Thank you. This is open comment period. Anyone else wishing to be heard this evening during open comment period, please step forward. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will close the public comment period and invite our city clerk to call the roll.
Good evening. Councilmember Keene.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Wall.
Here.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Doring.
Here.
Council President Schubring.
Here.
Mayor Norton.
Present.
Next up, we have the city administrator's report. Administrator Zelms, take it away.
Thank you, Council President, council members, Mayor Norton, members of the public. I'm trying a new clicking, so I've clicked it, but it hasn't advanced. So I'm gonna, wait, what? You just advanced them for me. Thank you. I always start off the meeting by thanking our teammates across the city for acting with respect, integrity, safety, and excellence. Thank you for the excellent assist over at the clerk's office. And I did just want to note we had an excellent weekend downtown with a lot of events going on, from a parade to a winter market to a lot of festivities at individual businesses, ugly sweater run and all of that. So hopefully folks will continue to come downtown and enjoy the beauty that is the lit trees and all of that. So excellence across the community. Also wanted to point out that Game Haven Regional Park was awarded a significant amount of funding for upgrades. So congratulations to our teammates at Rochester Parks and Recreation and all of the partners that they work with in order to continue to maintain and build additional trails. So that will be exciting for them to be able to upgrade the biking skills area, jump park, snowmaking power, and a tubing hill with tow ropes. So that may be something in your future if you're so inclined. Also, we do have request out to the community right now. You can find it on our website under news and updates. It's also on all of our social media. We are updating our city and public library websites to make sure that they're more navigable for more people. So you can help out with that through December 14th, rochestermn.gov. If you head to news and updates, it's pinned to the top there to be able to test out the current version that's under development and let us know if you could find things in a logical way for you, that type of thing. Also, we do have partners here from Experience Rochester Mayo Civic Center, and they, through December 16th, are participating in Give What You Can, help feed our community for a food shelf donation drive. You can head over between Mondays and Fridays on the second floor, the Skyway level, to provide dry goods and things of that nature, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So hopefully folks might be interested in that. And then I believe finally we're preparing for summer in the middle of winter. So we are kicking off the call for bands for the Riverside Music Series and Forward Park concerts. So a little something to look forward to while snow is on the ground. You can again head over to rochestermn.gov for more information. Deadline to apply is February 6th, or you can reach out to our teammates in public music. I think I said civic music, but it's public music now. That's all I have today.
Thank you. Next up, we have the mayor's report. Mayor Norton, go ahead.
Terrific. Well, first, since the Better Public Meetings event was mentioned during public comments, I will just say we had a nice turnout considering it was bitter cold. We had 25 or 30 people from the community come. There were people with lived experience in homelessness that attended, which made for some really diverse conversations. And I think we got some good ideas. So I'm really looking forward to, they did tell us what they had heard from the community already, but also the ideas that were generated at that forum were really interesting. So looking forward to seeing what happens moving on in the year. Also, I'm going to read this statement because I think it's important at this time. This was put out by the mayor's office on Friday of last week, and it says, Rochester has long been a place where people from around the world come to live, work, visit, and sometimes seek healing and care. Our Somali and immigrant communities are an essential part of that story, and every person in our city deserves to be safe, welcomed, valued, and supported. In moments like this, when rhetoric is creating fear and division, we must choose solidarity, compassion, and care. We stand firmly with our Somali neighbors and all immigrant communities to make Rochester stronger. As a global destination and a welcoming city, we remain committed to ensuring that everyone, regardless of where they come from, knows they are valued and belong here. As mayor, I thank all who continue to treat one another with dignity and care, and I invite others to join us. Together, we will continue building a community where every person feels seen, respected, and able to thrive. Our Somali and immigrant communities are and will continue to be a vital part of Rochester's past, present, and future. So I wanted to share that, and there have been some events in the public. I know some of the folks at the dais here have attended some of those, and I think our community is feeling supported here, and that does my heart good. We have our unveiling, if you will, tomorrow. It'll be bitter cold, so please dress warmly. But at 11:30 a.m. in Central Park at the southeast corner, we're unveiling the statue, which I'm so grateful for the Parks Department's work in getting that installed despite having trouble finding the base because the company in Rochester had closed down and we had to look a little further to find that. But we did get it, and we wanted especially for it to be put in this year. And one of those reasons is because we did get a grant from the Rochester Rotary Foundation for the base and the garden that will be put in around it eventually next year in honor of their 100th birthday, which was this year. So we were trying to get it in for that reason, as well as we've been working a long time. So Tuesday, December 9th, 11:30 a.m., southeast corner of Central Park. And it was fun to see online, some of you know this, that former State Representative Mindy Greiling posted her appreciation that apparently this is a relative of hers, as it is other people in the community, but I did not know that until we had already selected and had this ordered, so that made it kind of fun, somebody we know. Also, as last week was very busy, as was mentioned, the Mayor's Medal of Honor was held, and this picture depicts the wonderful residents of this community that were honored in 14 or 15 different categories. It was a really special day. hugs and tears and smiles all around. Some of you were there, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, but I've had really good feedback from that. So congratulations to all the winners. And if you know someone that does extra special work, please consider doing that, nominating them and doing the nomination form next October. Also, a reminder, this will be the, I believe, 4th year for the New Year's Eve celebration. It is December 31st, New Year's Eve day, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. It is a free family event held at the Mayo Civic Center. There will be inflatables, video games and VR trucks, kids' dance party with a DJ and photo booth, a balloon drop at 6 p.m., the ball drop, it's a balloon drop, along with Jenga, Connect 4, cornhole, checkers, tic-tac-toe, toss-across, a climbing wall. All of that is free from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then there are beverages and food for purchase if folks want them. But it's great fun. We had about 6,000 people attend last year and looking forward to an even bigger one this year. I'll be there. I welcome you to join me. Also, the Mayor's Day of the City, I think we might have mentioned this last time, but just as a reminder, will be January 8th at 7:30 a.m. And my office will take breakfast reservations if you want to eat. Otherwise, you're just welcome to come without having to eat breakfast. You're welcome. And lastly, board and commission vacancies. We have just a few left. We have been working diligently to get those all filled by the end of the year so the new appointees can start the year with the committee and there won't be issues of meeting a quorum. So this is what we have left, the Heritage Preservation Committee. I just interviewed one person today, but if you'd like to be considered, we're still doing interviews. Pedestrian and Bike Advisory, we have a vacancy. Sustainability and Resiliency Commission has both a student and an adult opening, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, we're down to just one. I've interviewed and filled 2 of the 3 positions. So that's all I've got.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for closing off the year with a wonderful report and also for standing up for our values, respecting and recognizing our history, and honoring our community's best. So thank you. Next up, we have the order of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move approval of the agenda as presented.
Moved by Councilmember Keen.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to our consent agenda, Councilmember Palmer has pulled item F2. Are there any other pulled items? Seeing none, I'd invite a motion to approve in block items F1 and F3 through F15. Moved by Councilmember Fredericks.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to our public hearings, we have 5 public hearings on our agenda this evening. And before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify the process for public hearings, which are a little different than open comment. So staff will first make a presentation on the item, and then if there is an applicant or an applicant representative, they will have up to 10 minutes to describe their project or the item. At that time, I'll open the public hearing. Members of the public have up to 5 minutes each to discuss the item. And again, however, we'd like you to keep comments brief, concise, and focused on the item at hand. After everyone has had their opportunity to speak, I will close the public hearing, and the applicant, if there is one, is invited to speak for up to 5 minutes to respond to any issues that come up during the public hearing. After that, council members are invited to ask questions of both staff and the applicant. And after that, I will invite a motion from my colleagues. So with that, we will start with public hearing number, okay, I've got to start, G1, which is a conditional use permit by the City of Rochester, and this will be presented by Community Development Staff Anthony Chicky.
Good Good evening, Council President Schubring, members of council. My name is Anthony Cheeky. I'm with the Community Development Department. I'll be bringing you this application tonight. The subject site is 11.54 acres in size, and it consists of 2 parcels located at the northwest intersection of Elton Hills Drive and Broadway Avenue North. The conditional use permit is required in order to permit a parking garage in the zoning district. The current plan consists of a 31,496 square foot parking garage and will provide approximately 278 spaces. This is broken down into 202 new spaces provided within the parking garage and a replacement of 76 surface parking spaces, 12 of which will be ADA accessible. The subject site is located in a MXS zoning district. The applicant has concurrently submitted a minor land subdivision application number CD 2025-038 plat to combine the 2 parcels. This would result in the parcel taking on the majority zone district for keeping the land use standards, being the MXT node zone. The proposed CUP site plan meets all of the required zoning site development standards, including any requirements for modifications. Just as a note, since the November 12th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the applicant met with city staff. We went over the elevations for adherence to the building design standards on December 2nd. That includes 360 architecture, horizontal articulation, and it was deemed to meet these aspects. Therefore, the proposed condition associated with meeting this criteria has been adequately satisfied. Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of this application as it is in alignment with the city's comprehensive plan and will provide investment in TOD-style land uses and supports the reduction in private automobile trips within the city's transit network. Planning Commission and staff recommend a total of 6 conditions of approval, and that concludes my presentation. I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you. At this point, I will open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and invite my colleagues to ask any questions of staff. Seeing none, is there a motion on this item? Councilmember Keen.
Yeah, again, just when you talk about the 2 sites, these are the 2 smaller sites. I'm looking at the picture in front of us, and I believe the rec center is not the site. It is the site just to the north of there.
Yes, to clarify, looking at the orange highlighted parcel on the diagram, that would be the 2 pieces combined. It's the northernmost piece along Broadway. It's basically a rectangular site. It's an old warehouse storage building that's no longer in use. That's going to be the main.
Can I ask though, when you did the notification zone around there, did you use the rec center site for the notification, or did you use the site where the parking garage is going?
Both.
Use both. Okay. It's always confusing when the city is both the requester and the approver, but on that idea of combining the 2 sites, that's really just a technicality. That's really, this is not subdividing anything to do with the rec center property, or there's no property changing hands from the rec center?
No, that's correct.
And the property that this is going on, was it considered parkland, or was it considered public works ownership, or who had the ownership of it?
I believe it was a public works site, the storage warehouse that's no longer being used.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Doring.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I just want to say I really appreciate that the number of planned ADA parking spaces almost doubles what is required by ADA standards. So I really appreciate that and looking out for members of our community in that way.
Councilmember Keen.
I'd like to move approval of a resolution approving the conditional use permit CD 2025-008 CUP by the city with 6 conditions to permit a parking garage use in the MXT NOD zoning district.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Keen and seconded by Councilmember Wall. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to item G2, final plat by Farmland LLC, Mercy Hill third final plat, and this will be presented by our staff member Desmond McGill.
Thank you, President Schubring. All right, there we go. Thank you, President Schubring. Mayor Norton, members of the council, good evening. My name is Desmond McGill. I'm with the Community Development Department, and I'll be introducing this application for this public hearing. This is Mercy Hill Third Subdivision. It's the second phase of a 28.6 acre development consisting of 88 single-family homes. Mercy Hill Third encompasses a total of 50 lots of that development. Mercy Hill is located in an R2 residential zoning district, which is low-density residential, small lot. The Mercy Hill Third is 13.8 acres in size. It is east of Orchard Ridge subdivision and 37th Avenue Northwest. It is also south of 65th Street Northwest and west of Rome Circle and 34th Avenue Northwest. Major land subdivision for the proposed development was approved by the City Council in July of 2025. The development review team is recommending approval as it is consistent with the previously approved major land subdivision application, and we are recommending approval subject to 3 conditions of approval. That concludes my introduction. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Is the applicant or applicant's representative here? If you step forward, state your name, and you have up to 10 minutes.
Thank you, Council President, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Adam Pleshcourt with Woodseth, engineer on the job. So Desmond did a great job. I don't have too much to add. Just note that Mercy Hill Second, which is the first phase of this two-parter, was constructed 2 years ago. And as part of that project, this site was all mass graded. So there's really no major earthwork or anything going on, and they've actually already started utilities on this phase as well. So everything's kind of prepped and ready, so construction should wrap up next spring. So thanks.
Thank you.
I'll be around for questions.
Absolutely. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and invite Mr. Pleshka, please come step forward and any closing comments that you have.
No, that's fine. I don't have any closing comments.
Great.
Thanks.
Questions from council members? Seeing none, is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve final plat number CD 2025-040 PLAT by Farmland LLC, Mercy Hill Third Final Plat, adopting a resolution approving final plat number CD 2025-040 PLAT by Farmland LLC to be known as Mercy Hill Third, with 3 conditions for the subdivision of 13 acres of land into 50 residential lots.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Fredericks and seconded by Councilmember Keen. Any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor, Councilmember Keen.
Yeah, just, it's not really on this topic, but if you'll note, this is our final plat number 40040, which I think is the most we've had in a year, at least in the last 10 years.
Good point. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to item G3, which is a comprehensive plan amendment by Enclave Development LLC and Mr. McGill.
Thank you, President Schubring. If I may, I'd like to present G3 and G4 together as they represent the same site.
Absolutely. We'll have one public hearing for both.
Right. Yes. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Desmond McGill. I'm with the Community Development Department. The applicant is looking to amend the land use plan, requesting a change of the land use designation from medium density residential to high density residential on a 2.04 acre site, and also is seeking a zone change from R2X, low density residential infill development, to R4 high-density residential. This site is located at the southwest corner of Center Street and 6th Avenue Southeast. The community development team recognizes the current shortage of multifamily units in Rochester, as outlined by the Maxfield 2025 housing study, which was recently updated. So combined, the city needs a total of approximately 4,600 general occupancy and senior development units by the year 2035 to meet the housing demand. Presently, there is significant and continuing demand for these units. The current comp plan medium density residential designation allows for R3 zoning, which has a maximum height of 48 feet or about 3 to 4 stories. The applicant is seeking to construct a 4 to 7 story general occupancy apartment housing development. This site is located on the Destination Medical Center Urban Center area. It is also identified as the primary node for business and cultural government services within the city of Rochester. Expanding housing and shopping in these areas and also recreation is a component to addressing changing demographics in the city and in a highly walkable environment. So the urban center is intended to accommodate the widest mixture of uses and highest development density. So we are supportive of this, as there are many elements of the comprehensive plan that suggest have formed our recommendation. We also want to note that it does support the primary transit network. There are 2 PTN corridors within about a quarter-mile proximity of this site. The Broadway Road PTN, which runs north and south, and then the 4th Street Southeast PTN, which is about a quarter mile to the southeast. Such development would likely contribute and help the city's ongoing investments in those facilities. The subject request also supports 3 of the P2S core principal plans of integrating land use and transportation, as it supports the city's PTN and alternative modes of access. This development is located within about a half mile of the Mayo Clinic downtown facility here in Rochester, and the physical it also promotes fiscal responsibility by redeveloping on a site that has existing services and facilities that can accommodate it. It also expands housing diversity, which is another core principles of the P2S plan. The Planning Commission and the Development Review Team is recommending approval of the subject request. Would like to note that a supermajority, 5 of 7 members, are required for the passage of the comprehensive plan. Should it be moved forward. So that concludes my presentation, my introduction. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. Do you have any, were you going to cover the zoning as well?
Yes, the zoning as well. The request is a change from R2X, which is that low-density infill designation, which can accommodate some multifamily, but not a lot. They are requesting the high-density residential designation, which could allow up to, I believe, 11 stories of development, although that is not the applicant's intent for this subject site. They are looking to build something similar in terms of the height to their recent development located over by Soldiers Field called First and Banks. That is a project they recently completed, and they are seeking that R4 zoning change, which is the only zoning district that kind of fits within that box of high-density residential. In terms of the uses between the R3, R4 zoning district, they're both pretty much the same, other than the ability to develop the site with more density and higher with a higher structure. So, but in terms of the uses that are permitted in both, they're generally the same. And that would conclude my introduction.
Thank you. Yeah. Is there a representative from Enclave here? Please step forward, state your name, and you have up to 10 minutes.
Good evening, Council President, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Patrick Brahma, and I will use all of these 10 minutes. I'm just kidding. I don't have a lot to add. I think the presentation was thorough and covered what I would present if I had the opportunity. First time in front of the city council, so I just wanted to introduce myself, Patrick Brahma. I'm with Enclave Development. If you're not familiar with Enclave Development, we call ourselves an integrated development company, a real estate company. What we mean by that is we do development, the traditional development. I'm a developer here going through an entitlement process, but we do construction in-house as well. And then we do property management in-house as well. The way that we look at projects is from a long-term perspective, not just getting a project done and flipping it and walking away or moving on to the next project. We look at communities long-term as an investment, and we want to be a partner long-term. So that's the spirit in which way we approach the First and Banks project, which was just completed, and the same approach that we're going to take on this project. I'll be here for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing and first invite Kenna Wallace up. And you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council President Schubring, council members. My name is Kenna Wallace. Many people in Rochester move here to work at Mayo Clinic or IBM. I moved here to work at the public library. I wasn't expecting to make a lot of money because I wanted to be a librarian. When I first moved to the Richards House on Center Street, my rent was $725 a month. I worked 2 jobs to be able to afford rent and the rest of my bills, at one point walking downtown to take the bus up to PetSmart, and later working at a beautiful little store in the Galleria. I was thrilled to be able to live so close to my workplace as I started building toward a career I love. The Richards House was dedicated to Carolyn F. Richards in 1998 for her work with the Rochester Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Now under the purview of Olmsted County, the HRA's mission was and is to provide affordable housing to the people. The apartment building proposed by Enclave was compared at the neighborhood information meeting in June, to which renting tenants were not invited, was compared to the Riverwalk apartments across the street from our block. Currently, the cheapest rental price for a unit at Riverwalk is nearly double my rent for the same square footage. At the Zoning Commission meeting on November 12th, the applicant for the project, when asked if it would be part of the affordable housing incentive, said 100% market rate. He spoke of relieving some of the housing pressures in our city. I don't see how putting up another luxury apartment building is relieving anybody's housing pressures. Will this be like Enclave's First and Banks development on the old YMCA site that features a golf simulator and pet spa? It is also not clear how tall this structure will be. They've said 4 to 7 stories. Riverwalk is 7 stories. Eastside Pioneers homeowners recommended 4. Even at 4 stories, the proposed riverside will block our westerly neighbors' views of the Zumbro River and the Rochester downtown skyline. I have also seen comments voicing concerns about the trees and the green space that will be lost. One of my favorite things about living next to the Zumbro is being able to hear the calls of pretty much every bird in Rochester, and being able to sit on my porch to watch the boaters or listen to the music in Mayo Park in the summer down by the riverside. Built in 1900 on the property of David LeSueur, the owner of Rochester's first general store, the Richards House became the home of hundreds of people over its 125-year history. LeSueur's daughter lived there for several years after she became a young widow. As future owners opened its room to boarders, it became the home of nurses, Mayo clerks, maids, store cashiers, blue-collar workers, an Air Force gunner's wife while he was at war, and other people who didn't have glamorous jobs but made vital and everyday contributions to the city of Rochester. People like me, who were just starting out in their professional careers or studying to build their future. The same story is true for the rest of the homes of my neighbors. This is why it is important to preserve the Richards House and the rest of our block on Center Street. I would like to quote our house's namesake. I don't think I ever personally experienced any antagonism in trying to develop low-income housing. The community tended to have blinders that there were people who had that need. Thank you. Please keep Rochester's housing affordable and save its beautiful history.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and invite Mr. Brahma to return to the mic and any closing comments or answers to questions that arose during our public hearing.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, the direct question that I did hear, there were a handful of helpful comments, and we'll take note of the comments made. The one comment that I think was a direct, clear question was the number of stories of the building. It'd be 4 to 7 stories is the proposed building. The city does, and you'll see in the write-up, and maybe you've reviewed already, but there you have a overlay district that protects the nearby lower density residential to the south, the neighborhood to the south that's built into your ordinances. The reason why our building steps from 7 stories down to 4 is to respect that overlay district. That 4-story maximum is what's allowed today under the current zoning district as well. So really it's that northern half of our site that we're stepping up to 7 to match the Riverwalk site. It's in terms of feet, to answer the question more specifically, it's about 11 feet per story is the general rule. We're so early on without clear design right now that it's probably better to assume 11 or 12 feet per story until we get the design nailed down. And obviously, where the grading is as well would affect the actual measurement of height. But just wanted to be clear that that's the proposed height for this project.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Fredericks.
Yeah. Mr. McGill, you made a comment when you were speaking. You said this is going to expand housing diversity.
Yes.
Tell me how this expands diversity.
Well, it's allowing or putting additional multifamily units in the downtown area, where we help achieve a critical mass of population to help support existing businesses nearby, and also, being very close to Mayo would allow for less people to need to use a single occupancy vehicle in order to get to and from work. So it's going to add to housing diversity, though. I mean, right now, we have about 13 units there right now, single-family homes, and it is going to change it, the intensity that you can have it. But, it is a general occupancy development. It is
Right.
affordable.
That was actually my next question. There's 11 parcels there.
Yeah.
You say there's 13 houses there?
I'm sorry. I think there's 13 parcels and 11 houses. I may have misspoke.
13 parcels, 11 houses.
Yeah.
Now, are those 11 houses, are they split into duplexes, triplexes, sixplexes?
I think they're primarily single-family
I
residential.
don't think they are, but I don't think they are. I walked that area hard during a few months back. So, but anyhow, it is providing a diverse little affordable housing, which we're crying for in this community, and I just wanted to ask that. And then the last question I have, I thought I counted 11 parcels there. Are you in ownership of those 11 parcels already? And if not, how many are you?
No, there's 13 total parcels, and we don't own any of the parcels that are under contract, purchase agreement.
Got you. If this were to go through, that's when you pull the trigger. You have an agreement on all 13.
That's correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Palmer.
I have a question for you, sir. The HRA house that was talked about, is that part of one of the parcels you are going to have control over?
I would need to clarify. I believe we were talking about the Olmsted County owned property across the street. That's what I was interpreting, but I'm not aware of a HRA owned house or operated house that within our parcels. We
Okay.
would have come up with that when we went under purchase agreement, if there was an HRA controlled house.
Okay, and then second question is, that I'm assuming you're not going to be asking for TIF funding or any additional funding from the city?
That's correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Is there Councilmember Keen?
Just a question for staff is, when you do these sort of land use changes or zoning changes, is there like a standard for proximity to other R1, R2X properties? And is there some sort of relief, or do we view that as, like, if you're going to be this close to downtown in an R1 sort of zone, it's probably not going to hold? Or what do we use as a standard for saying we want to have this in this level of density?
Well, in our review of the comprehensive plan specific to this application, as I noted, this is in the downtown urban center, which is the most intensive primary, most dense type of anticipated development for the city of Rochester. And it is on the fringe of that area. So that is one reason why we feel that this is it's a good fit. There are other R4 zoning pieces around this area just to the north. We do not have a lot of R4 zoning in the city. We believe that the additional density that could be achieved with that will, help that project move forward. So that's
Okay. Slightly different question. This property adjoins to, a street and then the river. Is there any sort of any work been done yet to say that there could be any exposure to the water conveyance and the river thing there, or is this far enough away that we don't worry about things like that?
They will need to comply with any stormwater drainage requirements of the city. I don't know the specific requirements of those, but they will be required to contain their own stormwater and have it treated before it leaves the site.
Okay, yeah, I think we're way too early for that work to be done. I'm just trying to get a feel. Last question, this is a little bit out of a preview, but I'll ask it anyways. Does the structure, as you understand it to be, include any parking down underneath?
Yes, it does. There would be some underneath. I believe there's also a concept in as far as putting some 45-degree angled parking along 6th Street southeast.
6th Avenue, I think it is.
Or 6th Avenue, I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Councilmember Doring.
Thank you so much for the presentation, both of you. This is more a question for community development. We've heard from the dais, from my colleague to my right on the dais, a lot about the desire for more home ownership in the city of Rochester. And I assume some of that is coming from feedback from the community that we are building tons of apartments and that those are sitting empty. And I want to combat that narrative a little bit. And I'm wondering if you have statistics about number of rental units that are sitting vacant. I noticed in the neighborhood information meeting comments that one of the neighbors asked the question, there are over 1,000 rental units vacant in the city of Rochester. Why would we consider building another high-density apartment complex? So do you have those statistics?
I don't have the specific numbers, but generally our vacancy rate is relatively low. It's also just to note, the Maxfield study, as mentioned, deals both with multifamily as well as single family. And so there is a need for a number of units in that multifamily and creating that option across the housing spectrum within Rochester.
Yeah, I really appreciate that answer. I just wanted to get that out in the public. I know those are the stats.
And there is some numbers in the Maxfield, so I can follow up and get you that specific vacancy rate.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Wall.
Councilmember Doring, while not being married specifically to exact numbers, we just heard them, I think, a couple of months ago that nationwide it's 4.5% vacancy, that we had a rate of 3.5, which was a little bit unhealthy at one point, and then it had dropped to like 2.6. So we don't have 1,000 apartments, and we're actually at an unhealthy vacancy rate.
I agree with that. I wanted to get that out on the public record so our community knows why developments such as this development are so needed in our community, especially as we consider the development of the downtown corridor and high density living in the downtown corridor.
Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Wall that we have low vacancy rate, and I don't believe I've ever said that it was rental. What I've always said is that we do need more home ownership in the community to build wealth. So I think 2.3 to 3% is the vacancy rate right now. And you can tell that because of the high rates. If we have more apartments, the rates should go down as supply goes up.
Is there a motion on this item? Councilmember Miller.
I have a question. To the comment about affordability,
Could staff talk about how we typically think about building in affordability requirements, particularly in TIF structures, and why this would be different? Why we wouldn't be requiring affordable units?
Ms. Woodward, are you going to take that one?
Sorry, I was getting the vacancy rate, which I do have, by the way, too. So in terms of looking at home, like as we've developed our TIF policy, there is some priority for affordable housing units within that, and that is something that's been kind of identified all along. When it comes to a property that is not partaking in that, there is no specific requirement to include affordable housing units.
So as a follow-up, when we think about just recently having set the property tax levy, how would a project like this impact the overall sort of, how do we think about a project developed in near downtown versus out on the edge? And which project decreases a pressure on the property tax levy more?
I think we see these opportunities for development near the downtown as an appropriate place for density, knowing that there's infrastructure in place, including transportation and access to different resources and jobs within a closer proximity.
Okay. And I would just note, we also have a project going on improving the transportation infrastructure adjacent to this parcel, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I may, can I answer the vacancy? So the vacancy rate is currently 7.9% for all market rate properties. So the blended between all of the both market rate and affordable is around 3.1% in terms of vacancy rate, and it was 4.4% in 2020.
Thank you. Councilmember Palmer.
I'll make a motion on G3, adopting a resolution approving comprehensive plan amendment number CD 2025-004 CPA by Enclave Development LLC, consisting of a change of land use classification on 2.04 acre site from medium density residential to high density residential.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilmember Palmer, seconded by Councilmember Keen. Any further discussion? Councilmember Keen?
I just want to kind of point out this is a supermajority vote, and I want to just clarify, does that mean 5-2, or what does supermajority mean?
It means we have to have 5 council members vote in favor of this council member.
Yep, thank you.
Any further comments?
Yep,
Councilmember Fredericks?
I do. Sensitive to the young lady's needs and wants that she came forward, I just want to say it is important that we look at these types of situations where we're taking away truly affordable housing and truly, established housing and going to a higher density. I am going to vote for it for this reason, because we need density for our downtown businesses to support those. We need it's in the corridor that it's set up for. It just makes sense. So you got to kind of go with the greater good on this and go with what's going to support what we're trying to do in our downtown corridor. If it was in the middle of a residential neighborhood, small neighborhood, obviously I'd be completely against it, but this fits with what we already have going on right across the street.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously with 7-0. Is there a motion on item G4? Councilmember Palmer.
I shall make a motion on G4, zone change number CD 2025-005ZC by Enclave Development LLC, amending the zoning designation on 2.04 acre site from R2X, low density residential infill, to R4, high density residential, and directing the city attorney to prepare an ordinance for first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Palmer, seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to our final public hearing, which is a utility easement vacation by Kramer Properties LLC. Mr. Cheeky.
Thank you, Council President Schubring, members of council. I'm Anthony Cheeky, Community Development Department. Before you is CD 2025-009 VAC by Kramer Properties LLC. The property is located at 3820 Broadway Avenue North, and the request is to vacate both an existing 20-foot wide utility easement and the existing 15-foot wide public utility easement originally dedicated in 2006. The applicant has a site development plan file CD 2025-039 SDP currently in review, proposing an addition to an existing business and office with some outdoor improvements. During the SDP review process, it was determined that the existing easements would need to be vacated and new easements dedicated. As of November 25th, 2025, the replacement water main utility easement has been recorded to staff and agency satisfaction. With this, the existing utility easements are no longer needed for the site. I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you. Is there a representative of Kramer Properties here? Step forward, state your name, and you have up to 10 minutes, but you don't have to use it all.
I don't need hardly any of it. In fact, I'm just here to answer any questions if need be. Council, I'm Adam Kramer, by the way.
Great. Thanks for being here.
Yep, thanks.
This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item, please step forward. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and invite my colleagues to ask questions. Councilmember Fredericks.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to compliment you on all the great work you're doing in town here, Mr. Kramer, not only for the adults, for the kids, and for the greater business community. So thank you for all your hard work.
Councilmember Keene.
I'd like to move adopt a resolution approving the utility easement vacation CD 2025-009 by Kramer Properties LLC to vacate an approximate 10-foot wide public utility easement and a 20-foot wide utility easement.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Keene and seconded by Councilmember Doring. Councilmember Keene, further.
No, I think as the report pointed out, as of November 25th, the replacement utilities are in place. That's the key thing.
Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Mr. Frederick said to Mr. Kramer, and adding a skate park indoors and outdoor skate park and a what I'm trying to say, a coffee shop, a coffee shop that's there. Took a building
show.
Yes, it took a site that was really declining and improved it greatly. So thank you.
I would echo that. I've been up there. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. And I just want to say, we just went through 5 public hearings that originated from our community development staff and our Planning and Zoning Commission. And we got through them pretty quickly, and I just want to commend the staff we have at Community Development and also our Planning and Zoning Commission that vets this for us so that we have the opportunity to watch the video of Planning and Zoning and hear the more robust conversation that happens on these items so that when it comes to the council, we have that recommendation. So thank you all. And with that, we will move to our reports and recommendations. And we will have a report from the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council members' trip to Japan. Councilmember Miller, do you want to introduce this item?
Sure. Mayor Norton earlier this year hosted a Sister Cities trip to our sister city in Akita, Japan, in northern Japan. Invited members of the community. I was able to join along with my daughter and 2 members of the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council who are here tonight to present. We had a wonderful trip, and I look forward to reminiscing a bit about those experiences and hearing how this experience has shaped their perspective of coming back into our community and serving here. So I'll be glad to add more comments after their presentation.
Welcome, and please state your names, and we're anxious to hear.
Hello, Council President. My name is Alexander Yovchev, Council members.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Dogoiseke. I'm a junior at Century High School.
So first of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Norton and Councilmember Miller for giving us the opportunity to go on the trip to our sister city in Japan, and the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council for for providing stipends for the trip. And the purpose of this presentation is going to be to primarily showcase the youth perspective and our takeaways from the sister city trip, and more on our relationship building with Akita. Next slide. So just a brief agenda. We'll go over what is the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council and more about ourselves, a brief trip synopsis, then we'll go into the 3 cities that we visited, and then takeaways and questions at the end. So first of all, what is the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council? The Rochester Olmsted Youth Council provides 14 to 20-year-olds with opportunities to serve in advisory role to county and city officials. And we receive presentations on various projects. Like, for example, this past December meeting, we were presented with the Bold Beyond plan by Mayo Clinic, and the
Close enough.
Yeah. and they really appreciate the youth voice in that, because they primarily get a bunch of opinion from the adults, but not a lot coming from teenagers like us. And so in addition to our advisory role, we also fulfill a variety of other miscellaneous commitments. We volunteer. We're supposed to go to these city council meetings and report back on what we took away from these meetings. And so more about me, I'm a junior at Mayo High School. I'm primarily interested in politics and governance, and joining this group particularly gave me the opportunity to learn more about local governance while advocating on behalf of my peers at Mayo High School and my peers in the city and county to enhance the overall youth experience in Rochester. Next slide.
All right. So for our trip synopsis, we traveled through 3 major regions. Those included of Hiroshima, Tokyo, and then Akita. Each place offered something completely different and helped us understand Japan's history, culture, and their local government. So first, starting off with Hiroshima, we arrived August 4th, and we spent 3 days in Hiroshima. We attended the Peace Memorial Ceremony, which was pretty cool because later in the day, I actually saw myself on BBC News on TikTok. So that was pretty cool. I was actually excited. And then we also visited important cultural sites, and including Miyajima Island. Hiroshima really gave us a deeper understanding of peace, resilience, and the importance of remembering history. Also, seeing how the city was rebuilt with the strength of everybody around them, and the hope was one of the most meaningful parts of the entire trip. Moving on to Tokyo. Oh yeah, there was pictures from Hiroshima. Good food. That was really good.
Very good food.
Very good. Moving on to Tokyo, on August 8th, we took a Shinkansen to Tokyo, and there we toured the Imperial East Gardens, and we visited the Meiji Shrine and explored Akuza, which is a historic neighborhood in Tokyo. I spent a lot of money shopping. Thank you, Dad. But it was totally worth it. I'm actually wearing the shoes that I bought there, but yeah, pretty fun, and it was overall a pretty great trip. Tokyo really showed us how Japan blends its past with its future, and they did it in a very natural way. And then finally, we arrived at Akita on August 11th, where we met with the city government officials, and we participated in discussions. We also participated in a tea ceremony, which was pretty fun. And later, during our time there, we had a welcome dinner. We also participated and toured the Oga Peninsula, and we kind of embraced ourselves in the unique culture and learned about their local culture centered around the Namahage folklore, which was pretty cool. And overall, it definitely taught us about the regional identity and their community life, seeing how important community engagement is to their decision making, and seeing that up close really helped us better understand the purpose and value of the sister-city relationship on a more political level. Yeah. And in closing, our trip wrapped up August 14th, we returned back to the U.S. With a deeper appreciation for Japan's history and their culture and their local leadership. And we really want to thank you all for supporting us, our youth delegation, and our opportunity to represent our city.
Thank you very much.
If you guys have any questions, yeah.
Absolutely. First, Mayor, Councilmember Miller, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'll just add one of the opportunities that the young people had in our sister city was we had a very formal presentation with the government. And when we arrived there, hundreds of the employees, they had the American flag out in front of City Hall. And then when we got there, hundreds of the employees came out with American flags waving to greet us, which was quite a fun opportunity. And then with the staff of the city, including the mayor, Mayor Numaya, the young people were allowed to present to them and asked to share a few words. So, you know, it's nerve-wracking coming to a city council meeting. It's even more nerve-wracking, I'm sure, to speak to a group of mayors and council members and staff at the city in a language, you know, that we don't know, right? So they did get to share that. And it was a wonderful opportunity, I think, to learn about government. Particularly, Akita was focused on keeping their young people in their city, much like we talk about here. What are ways that we can keep our young people from, you know, going away to college and not coming back? We want them to come back. They're having that same youth flight from their city, and also they're developing an age-friendly city. And so that was something else we had in common that we could share and learn about. And we toured some of their sustainability sites as well while we were there.
And I guess I would add, I think that this trip for me really highlighted the international nature of Rochester. Our oldest member of our delegation is a longtime resident of Rochester who is from Japan and was in Japan in the preceding weeks of our trip with her daughter and granddaughter. And they were graceful enough to join us along the final leg to go to Akita to serve as our official translator and our interpreters, and to just join and share their experience, both their Japanese heritage and also the connection to Rochester. And I'd say the youngest member of our delegation was my own daughter, who I was able to bring along, who was 10. And so we had a span of ages representing our community from 10 all the way up to 80. We were welcomed. We got to see the city hall, see the council chambers. They have a much larger assembly style of local government than we do. Meet the mayor. There was even, as we arrived to City Hall on that day in Akita, they had put up a U.S. flag. We walked into the government building and were greeted by cheers and claps and waving American flags. And it felt like really small world opportunity to see the connection that many people from around the world often travel to Rochester for healthcare, and then to go and experience that hospitality offered to us on international travel. It's something I think about. I've been accused of being council member who only cares about transportation. Fascinating country from a transportation perspective. We took a couple of tour buses, but I think relied so heavily on public transportation and got around a spectacularly large, crowded area of Tokyo as a group of 20 on the Tokyo Metro, and only had one incident where we got separated on two different trains. But what was amazing was our tour guide jumped onto the train with the part of our group that got ahead, and then we made it to the next station, and they got back on because those trains were running every 3 minutes throughout the day. And so while it was a very stressful, brief 3 minutes, we were quickly solved the transportation issue. And I would just recognize as well our two tour guides, Mickey and May, who were instrumental in helping us to understand the culture, the gravity of our visit to Hiroshima, to understand the complexity of that international relationship and how that's evolved into a shared understanding of the need for peace. We got to hear youth perspectives from sixth graders at the peace ceremony for the 80th anniversary. We got to hear from the mayor of Hiroshima, and then some of the Japanese national government. And there was quite a tension in what peace looks like at all of those levels and what the priorities are in a very complicated international space. So I personally was very impacted, and I was so grateful to have members from our youth in our community, from the Youth Council, from longtime members of this community who have been involved in the International Relations Committee, and it gave me a real perspective of the city that we live in and the diversity that is the strength of our community.
Thank you. Councilmember Fredericks.
Well, you two are appropriate for your positions. You did a great job. Nice presentation, well put together. It's nice to see young people out doing these things that are important. I just want to ask you two questions, and they're not trick questions. There's no right or wrong answer. But what was your most eye-opening experience while traveling over there? And what did you see, or what would be your biggest takeaway that you'd like to see come back here that we could implement here in Rochester?
Yeah, for me, I'd say the biggest thing that I saw there, the most thing that I appreciated was exactly what Mayor Norton described when we walked into that municipal government building and every single staff member of Akita was there waving their flags. It really showcased their hospitality. And so, yeah, that was a very touching thing to me. I still think about that, wow, we're just 20 people, but the whole city government came together just to cheer on our delegation. For the other question, the thing that we should take away from it, this is a very minor thing, but I think it's a very critical thing. In almost every single Japanese city that was there, on the sidewalks, there are these little like pebbles or something, and it's for the blind to guide them across the path safely, for them to be guided along the sidewalk safely and to not get run over by cars. So seeing that implementation here in Rochester would really add to what Mayor Norton was saying about being an age-friendly city and especially helping the blind.
For me, when I went to Tokyo, it was like the people. I had never been around like so many people. It was kind of like overstimulating, but so many people. It was just like really like eye-opening for me. I had never been around so many people like that for me. And then number two, I would say probably like the community. When we were in Akita, like as Alex said, like I felt like we were back in Rochester. Like they were so warm, they were so welcoming, they were so inviting. We definitely had that community in Rochester, of course, but I just love their community and how welcoming they were. So I love that.
Thank you. Councilmember Godoring.
Like my colleague further down the dais, I just want to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for making us proud and representing Rochester well as during your visit to Japan. And I also just have two questions. First, I'm curious if you were able to have any just one-on-one time or group time with other youth in Japan. And then if a group were to come over here, what would be the one thing about Rochester that you would want to make sure to show them as youth in our community?
Yeah, so for the first question, me personally, the only time I had a true, genuine interaction with other Japanese youth were in Hiroshima. I believe that we were walking away from the peace ceremony, and we were walking across this bridge into this park. And these two Japanese high school girls just approached me and asked me, do you mind, you seem like an American, do you mind us asking you some questions about where you come from and why you're here and what do you appreciate so much about Japan? And their teacher was behind them, explaining to other members in our group that this is for a group project because the August 6th bombing of Hiroshima was recent, so they just want to highlight the international call for peace. So yeah, they just asked me a bunch of general questions like, what do you like most about Japan? What do you think would be an even better improvement? And so it was just general questions like that really helped unify both of us. Even though we live 5,000 miles away from each other, we could still give each other coherent questions. And for the second question, what other people in the international community should take away coming here to Rochester, I'd say first of all we should take a leaf out of the Akita's book and show them true Rochester hospitality. I know Minnesota's already known for its good hospitality, but Akita's way of welcoming us was unmatched. So the hospitality that Akita showed, I believe Rochester should show to all of its international members. And then, yeah, I'd say that's about it. Mm-hmm.
Well, what was the first question? Sorry.
Did you have any interactions with the Japanese youth?
For me, unfortunately, I did not, but they were very welcoming. For number two, maybe like I think the name changed, but like Thursdays on First. I would like that's where like during the summer that's where I like get to meet up with all my friends there. So I feel like they would definitely enjoy that. So I would definitely like to introduce them to that for sure. For sure.
Councilmember Wall.
Thank you. You may have already tipped your hand on this question, but what was the most interesting question you received while in Japan?
That's a good one. I gotta think about that. That's. I mean, I'd say the most interesting question I got was just the generality, the generality of the question that the girls gave me initially. It was, what do you like the most about Japan? Because it's just, there's so many things that you can say, and for it to just be condensed to one thing that you love about it, it was a really hard answer. But yeah, I'd say that's the most interesting question, because there's so many different pathways that you can answer that question. So it's pretty unique.
For me, I'm like really into anime, and me and my dad, we had went out to like a cafe for like when we were like on a break, and this girl like approached us, and we like kind of bonded over like anime, and I was kind of like translating, oh, my favorite anime is Naruto, and yeah, but I don't know, yeah. So.
Great. I am going to take it in a different direction. And one, I really appreciate your enthusiasm and just the color that both of you and Mayor Norton and Councilmember Miller gave to that trip. It really sounds like an amazing experience for all of you, but also a really great opportunity of connection between Rochester and our international sister city. So I'm going to ask more on, tell me about what you see that you value in the Rochester Olmsted Youth Council, your work there, and how that work is shared with other youth to be as involved as the two of you are.
Yeah, for me, I'd say it's just the general opportunity to be given and receive reports by members of the Rochester and Olmsted County. So all the various projects that they do that affect the youth, all the various like I mentioned, the Destination Medical Center was also one, and it's always the staff are always complimenting us, saying that we never really usually receive any youth voice in these decisions. So seeing the youth's perspective on these issues or these initiatives that we're trying to implement within the city, I really appreciate the opportunity to be given a voice and to advise just both you guys as the council and other people in Rochester and the Olmsted youth and Olmsted County on their initiatives.
For me, really just having the opportunity to be around other youth, just seeing other like-minded people that are interested in the same thing that I am, and having the opportunity to learn more about the city is just really a great opportunity. This trip was a great opportunity. I don't think I've ever like done any major in any kind of like extracurricular. So just have the opportunity to learn more about the city, and then also with my peers as well.
Great. Well, come back anytime. And Mayor, I think this is a great opportunity for a commercial for our next sister city trip, which yourself and I will be attending.
We will. This June, we're taking a group of folks from the city of Rochester to Germany, where we have two sister city relationships. One's with the University of Minnesota through that organization in Munster, and Moosburg, which Mayor Chuck Hazama started 46 or so years ago. And I popped in there one time when I happened to be in Germany for just a moment to meet the mayor and have some horrific white sausages and beer for breakfast, non-alcoholic. It was a very strange breakfast. Anyway, I just kind of popped in and did have a visit. So I know what we're getting in for in Moosburg, and certainly Munster has been here a number of times. So, and then there's the trip between, just like we hit Tokyo on the way through, very similar. So you get to do a day or two of sightseeing between the work on either end. But it's loads of fun, and we would invite folks that are interested to call the mayor's office or talk to Council President Schubring or myself. And I also might mention, these two young people signed up and were given a stipend. And when we had our informational meeting for them, their parents came, and as it ends up, a parent from each, Gabby's dad and Alex's mom, joined us as well. So they were part of the 20, which made for a lot of fun. And I think it was okay for you guys too, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. Gabby got to do more shopping because Dad was there with the checkbook.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. And I mean, it's really the highlight of our council meeting this evening and one of the highlights that we've had this year. So we really appreciate your voices, and come back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And next up, we have the 2025 Experience Rochester Annual Update. Mr. Ward, are you going to kick us off? Who's first here?
I'm starting here.
Mr. Mo.
So,
go ahead.
Good evening, Council President Schubring, Mayor Norton, and members of the council. And thank you, City Administrator Zelms, for letting us follow that group. And thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Jacob Mowitz, Board Chair for Experience Rochester. And on behalf of our Board of Directors, I want to express our appreciation for the strong collaborative and relationship that we share. Experience Rochester continues to evolve alongside our community. The momentum we're building is both significant and encouraging. From strengthening operations at Mayo Civic Center to advancing our destination marketing efforts, we are laying the foundation for long-term success. Experience Rochester is committed to transparency, accountability, and being a trusted partner. We value the responsibility that comes with representing our community, and we remain focused on performing that work with purpose and intention. Shortly, Experience Rochester President Joe Ward will present a review of our past year, financial overview, and finally, a bit of what's to come. But before that, I'd like to introduce my fellow board member and our treasurer, Bill Richter, to come to the podium.
Good evening. When Experience Rochester established its current board structure 6 years ago, it was built intentionally as a governance model board. Our role is very clear. We hire the chief executive, we set meaningful measurements, and empower the team to succeed. I believe we and the entire city of Rochester were incredibly fortunate to hire Joe Ward. Under his leadership, he built a dedicated and talented team that has been deeply committed to delivering results for Rochester, and you will see those. It's been gratifying to serve on the board and see the model that was envisioned 6 years ago come to fruition. Thank you.
Good evening, Council President, Mayor, members of Council. I'm Joe Ward, President of Mayo Civic Center and Experience Rochester, and I really just want to thank Bill and Jacob for their nice comments and for bringing me to Rochester 6 years ago. And they're right; they've empowered our team, and I really appreciate that. And really, I appreciate the team that really executes the work. And they're all over there in the corner. And if they weren't relegated to the corner. They chose to be there. But they work day in, day out, evenings, around the clock sometimes to serve our guests and to serve people that come to this community. And I really sincerely want to say thank you. And I'm here to try to kind of take an entire year and put it into, well, think the goal is 15 minutes. It's hard for me sometimes, for those that might know me. But I was going to say, in 2025, we successfully consolidated operations in food and beverage at the Mayo Civic Center into a single operator model. So this year with Legends is taking over food and beverage and operations. They've been working on that for about 4 or 5 months now. Improved customer satisfaction scores. So we used to kind of get we'd get like a 95 and then like an 80, then like a 92 and then an 81. But this year across the board, 90% in every categories of customer satisfaction. That being said, we know we're not perfect, but we strive to do that every day. And again, I want to also, this one I'll highlight by name, Craig Burkdell, our general manager, who has really delivered that consistency and continues to work on it. I used to say, oftentimes, too often, we were consistently inconsistent. We're starting to get rid of that word. So we're starting to find a lot of consistency, again, with the attempt to always strive to be as close to perfect as we can, but knowing that we can't get there. And then I would say, also really proud of the work Craig has done and team with the city, with capital planning, thinking ahead, prioritizing things, working with Zach and the staff, and everybody there to just make sure that that falls in line so we have a building that's a place that's clean and safe to come to for generations. And then it wouldn't be what we do without saying comedy continues to be king in Rochester. And this year we had the second busiest show in history of the Mayo Civic Center, the largest comedy show with Nate Bargatze. We also, as Councilmember Miller got to see, the largest lines we've had in a while, and I appreciate that you waited patiently, but our team, we got them in and we learned from that too. It's not every day that you get 6,200 fans in the building, so that was awesome. Also want to get into some of our annual key performance indicators. This is really led by our sales team. Through November, the Civic Center revenue future booking is 117% of budget, with $7.36 million booked versus a $6.27 million goal. At the same time, hotel room nights are running at 111% of budget, with 42,986 actual nights versus a 38,610 goal. Both metrics confirm that demand, booking strength, and visitor volume are outperforming our plan. And then we also want to make sure that we're not just the city's convention center, right? That we're part of this community. We said it from the very beginning back in 2019 when I was watching all these council members, many of you not on council at the time, and just realizing that community was a big piece. Keeping Civic in Civic Center was really important. And so this year, a lot of our community engagement work, we added a new group that's the Community Food Response, focus on food security, workforce pathways, and downtown vitality with some of the other things that we've worked in. I want to thank the mayor as well for the inspiration behind hosting Cradle to Career. We were at her State of the City last year, and she mentioned it being the year of the youth and gave us a little tip on Cradle to Career. And we went out and worked with them and brought them in. So that was really great, and it was nice to see them have a terrific facility to celebrate and get their messages out. With Cradle to Career, we connected students to real-world career exposure inside the Civic Center, and through Leadership Greater Rochester this year, we took our talents off-site and actually helped them with a building project that's an interactive game that I couldn't tell you all the details about, but our team could. It's really terrific, so get out in the Skyway, and if you see the project that the Leadership Greater Rochester group put together this year, you'll really enjoy that. So as far as this year, we're, again, Mayor mentioned earlier, Celebrate Rochester New Year's Eve. That came out of, I have to say it, because first conversation I ever had with the mayor back in 2019, she said, it seems like, New Year's Eve could use a boost in this community. And we got to work on that as well. Tried a few different variations of the same event, and this is the 4th year to have this family-friendly one, which, as she said, 6,000 people attended last year. She's not allowed to roller skate anymore for safety reasons, but we are glad to continue to have this event. And then we'll have our 4th year as well of Experience Rochester's Restaurant Week coming up. So I want to thank Bill Von Bank and the marketing team for that. And then this year we also tried to encourage shopping in the community with Strop, Stroll, and Explore. the Rochester's Holiday Shopping Pass. So that was kind of a new thing for us. Had over 20 merchants participate in that. And then, we need to really focus on the what we do's as well. So as far as like who we compete with, and I think this is something that we haven't had a tradition of really showing, and I think it's a good move forward for us to be able to show this, because there's a lot of questions Councilmember Keene has asked before, sort of how do we measure up to people? And so if you look at those bookings at the top, so you see Experience Rochester with 38,132 rooms. If you look at that whole thing, one, you'll figure out that no destination seems to count them the same, which is frustrating, but that's really an apples to apples type of thing. Like Catch Des Moines doesn't report room nights, but somehow has $150 million of economic impact. Maybe we should run for council down there and have a chat with them about accountability, but we'll be fair to them. No. They're a good-natured competitor, trust me, I know those folks quite well. But I think for us, we're right in there. We're right in the mix with those. Let me see, just want to make sure I write. We generated 38,000 room nights, almost 38 million in economic impact. Of course, all kidding aside, ahead of St. Cloud, Duluth, Iowa City, and Sioux Falls. Even more important, CoStar, which used to be Smith Travel Research, which does all the hotel data, ranks Rochester first in demand growth, occupancy growth, this is in the lower chart, and hotel revenue growth among these markets, including the top performer in Minnesota. So now hotels in Minnesota in general have struggled post-pandemic, but I think, again, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mayo Clinic's position of strength that really helps us boost that. Over the last 4 months, we've seen like increases, like double-digit increases in hotel revenue at different, like 1 month was like 13, next month went down to like 6, and then another 12. That is tremendous. It's really, as you can see there, not what you're seeing in other destinations. So in short, I'd say Rochester's visitor economy is outpacing the region. So very excited about that. And now, normally we don't pass the microphone here, but in the interest of being efficient and also get to some really great project, this year we were able to harness the power of the model that was put in place 6 years ago. So years 0 through 6, we're really about trying to create some cost certainty for the Mayo Civic Center, free up some money as well for destination marketing efforts. And you're going to hear a little bit about that from somebody who can tell a marketing story much better than me, Bill Von Bank, our Vice President of Marketing Communications, to discuss This is Rochester. Really?
Thank you, Joe. President Schubring, Mayor Norton, members of the council. About a year ago, we started discussing what would a summer leisure campaign look like for Rochester, and we spent a lot of time having deep conversation. We know that we have the world's best healthcare system, and that's a great sense of pride. There's also an and. We're a great place for healthcare, and we wanted to tell the and story. We want to really showcase Rochester by encouraging people to really peel back the layers and see that there's more to Rochester. There's more to explore. There's a great dining scene. There's 85 miles of connected trails. We have some incredible live entertainment, and the latest tourism trends are people will travel and move around to other cities to see live entertainment, and we have that here. So we leaned in on proof points. What makes Rochester stand out that people will want to come for a day trip or make a weekend getaway on it? This is a starting point. This is the start of the funnel, the sales funnel for consideration and awareness and consideration, which ultimately would lead to visitation. So our lead creative is a video that we used for TV, for streaming, and for some of our digital, and I'd like to show that for you right now. Not sure if there's sound. It does have sound.
There you go.
Country's top-rated speakeasies. Really? An oyster bar that farms its own exclusive oysters from the coast of Maine. Really?
How about if we just try that again?
Of big city experiences. Rochester, Minnesota. Really? We say yes. Really. Home of Minnesota's highest rated beer. Really. A booming live music scene. Really. One of the country's top rated speakeasies. Really. An oyster bar that farms its own exclusive oysters from the coast of Maine. Really. The perfect blend of big city experiences with small town convenience. This is Rochester, Minnesota. Really.
A strong start, and the music bed was from Clay Fulton in the Lost 40s. So we tried to keep this as local as we could from beginning to end. The campaign was multi-channel. So you saw a video that was played on digital and in other areas, but we also were in the Skyway system near Target Field and Target Center in downtown Minneapolis. So we could catch the traffic of people going to Twins games or Minnesota Lynx games and share the message. A huge social media presence focusing on some of the big events in Rochester. Rochester Downtown Alliance's Thursdays Downtown was a huge message for us. One, to never let a good headline go to waste. The Star Tribune noted when Rochester Public Music announced their summer music series, Rochester might have Minnesota's weirdest and most fun city concert series in 2025. So we turned that into an ad campaign as well as part of this. And of course, a shout out to the mayor who keeps championing our trail system, some digital advertising around 85 miles of connected trails. Communities around us are touted for their trail system. We think we have a gosh darn good one as well. And we were able to also bring this campaign to life a little bit throughout the community. We obviously, many of you know, we have a visitor center in Peace Plaza all summer long. So we were able to wrap some windows. I want to thank Realty Growth for helping us get on those windows, and the shops at Kaler as well for allowing us on those windows of the former Lasker building. Really was a nice compliment to our visitor booth. Some results. We measured traffic. A lot of our digital campaign was linked to certain pages on our website, so we were able to measure year over year traffic to our website. For example, Thursdays Downtown, as I mentioned, was just a huge driver for business to our website, traffic to our website. Restaurants, again, as well, and we always see great interest in our restaurants year-round, but we did see a nice spike during this campaign. Active users from some of our target markets. Minneapolis-St. Paul was our primary market. We also invested in the La Crosse, Eau Claire area as well as northern Iowa, and you see some active user increases year over year from those markets. We mentioned.
Can I ask you a question? Sure. On it looked like there was a big jump in St. Paul. What do you attribute that to?
Well, it was about 60% of our campaign investment was the Twin Cities, and so Minneapolis, St. Paul, DMA. So primarily just more investment in marketing in that market.
Got it.
It's our number one driver of visits to Rochester is the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So we were. It was a great surprise also for us. We subscribed to Zartico, which is a destination intelligence software program, a leading one for destinations like ours, and we tracked visitation, and it was a nice surprise to see a jump in visitation from Minneapolis, St. Paul, considering that this campaign primarily was about awareness and consideration. So this was a nice surprise for us to see this as well. We are in early planning for This is Rochester Really 2.0 in 2026, which will also allow us to start a little bit earlier and take the campaign a little bit longer into the season. So we're really excited about that, to continue to tell the authentic stories of Rochester, home to the best hospital, and more to come. And then one final note, we are partnering with the city on becoming film ready. The Explore Minnesota has started a film commission. It's called Explore Minnesota Film. Reestablished that. They also have film tax credits available. So communities across the state are working to get film ready. What that means is that we follow some protocol. We work on getting a permit process put in place, which we are in close conversation with Allison and her team right now to get that completed. Getting a big media library put together for Explore Minnesota Film, training, which I've already been through, and ultimately another way to drive visitation and economic impact to the community. There are about 18 destinations in Minnesota that have gone through the certification, and shortly will be community number 19. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I also want to say that this is Rochester really. A few people have asked me, like, is this our new brand? No, it's not, okay? It's a way to get attention. It's a way to move forward as a campaign, and sometimes people need that to understand that. And I think really you talk to people in the Twin Cities and that have seen it, and it jumps out because there's a lot of people that frankly are surprised that there's things to do in Rochester other than the things that you have to come to Rochester for. So it's a great first step. It's a nice little try to see how we're going to do, and we're going to reinvest in that a little bit as we can. So I'm proud to be able to put that through. Now, of course, a big, huge responsibility for us is on the fiscal side. That's a big building across the street. There's a history of it having, that created the reason why I showed up here in 2019 of having some, financial opportunities, let's just say. And so this year, for the first time, we've been able to cross over to having a projected $1.5 million operating reserve at the end of 2025, which, if you're familiar with the contract that we have with the city, that triggers to where we will now start contributing 5% of our overall gross to the city to help and aid in the capital improvements. So that was a huge benchmark that we were able to meet. There's two people on that I really want to thank internally, Nick Landry, who really set us on a course for getting there, and externally, our partner at the City Administrator Allison Zelms, for having an understanding, be able to look through the money and things just a couple years ago when that reserve number got like uncomfortably close to 400,000, and realizing that you can't just look back and say, well, there was this pandemic, right? Those were real things, but we have to get this stable, and that situation we're really proud of now to have that $1.5 billion reserve. Over the last few years, we've reinvested $1.1 million directly back into the Mayo Civic Center. So even though now the capital goes to the city to be planned, we've also directly put in $1.1 million over the years, mostly in the food and beverage side. And then since 2023, we've also been able to increase the destination marketing investment by $426,000, which is those that were on council at the time recall that you had to retract some of those dollars at the time and realign them. We're working back as the model was laid out to believe. Now, if there wasn't for that little disruption back in 2020, that's a course you probably would have seen more at years like three or four, and now we're in there at year 6, and really just glad that that's moving forward, and we'll continue to do so as we go on. And so in short, as far as the financial situation is getting more sound there, absolutely. And strengthening reserves while still reinvesting aggressively in the asset. And again, I also want to thank Craig on this, because Craig's team has really been taking care of things really well, making sure that we're alerted to what needs to be replaced, working with the city, and that really wasn't, quite honestly, always the case. So really glad that we can do that. So let me see, just want to make sure. Yeah, I probably skipped over something here. So also, for 2025, and forecasting $10 million in revenue against $9.45 million in expenses, which puts us about $585,000 positive on operations. That results in a projected year-end reserve of the $1.52 million I've already mentioned. And then for next year's operational budget, we successfully consolidated the operations, as I've said, by going to one operator, which gives us some cost efficiency, and we're proposing a $10.32 million balanced budget with $10.32 million in reserves. Revenues remain stable with $4.2 million in city investment, so thank you very much for your faith in us and in investing those dollars. And thank you to our hotel partners for their hotel guests who generate a lot of that money as well, and to Mayo Clinic and other demand drivers in our community for bringing those guests that stay in our hotels. So we'll have $5.54 million in earned Civic Center income, consistent and also include the one roof support that the city gives us as well to work with the Arts Center and the Civic Theater. Expense growth is controlled while also allowing for reinvestment in both Mayo Civic Centers and DMO activity. So very excited about that. And then as we move on, the road ahead, I'm going to read this one by looking at it because it's not on my notes, but I like this. The strategic realignment and enhanced efforts to support and grow Rochester's visitor economy. I think we're kind of at the point where we've been able to figure out, like, okay, we have a level of cost certainty around the Mayo Civic Center, right? Your model worked. But, and there's a but to that, the Rochester's rapidly growing, right? There's bold, forward, unbound, and I think it's time that we get a little bold and start thinking about what does visitation in this city look like 10 years out, all the way back to what do we need to do tomorrow to be ready for that, but also ready for tomorrow to support those businesses beyond the Mayo Civic Center, from that destination marketing and destination management and working. So we are going to be working on a tourism master plan. The timeline here, a lot of overall 18 to 24 month tourism master planning process built around community engagement, visioning, and clear recommended actions. And phase one is already underway with the University of Minnesota Tourism Center as part of the University of Minnesota Extension. We just approved, Bill and I signed off on the non-visitor survey, a resident sentiment survey, and business sentiment survey. So the first thing is to go out and hear from people, say, what do you think? One, the non-visitor is somebody that hasn't come to Rochester in over a year. Of course, we know what visitors are, and we know what residents and businesses are here in our community. And I think that's really key, especially I would say for me. When I've gone into places, I've always touted that I'm successful because of the fresh eyes. Well, I'm 6 years in, and we have to have fresh eyes, and this will help us get the eyes of our community. A lot of people have moved here in those 6 years, and also those that have still been here their whole lives. And what do they see about Rochester that's a gem, or where do they see opportunities? And when we have those results, should be June or so of next year, we'll be bringing those forward, and that will lead into the rest of that process that that's up there. The visioning then, recommended actions, and I think that part with the 12 to 18 months, that's critical, where we're obviously coming back, speaking with you all, speaking with our city partners. That 24 months gets you to, a magic time frame too, where probably if there are additional opportunities that we all decide to do, how is that happening, right? And I know myself, I'll have a list of like 20 that I want, and then we're going to get down to 3 or 5 that are going to be really core, that really work and move forward. And again, I think, for me personally and professionally, I'm sincere when I say it. I really want to thank everybody on the city team for all the help. We deal with so many people on a different day. One's a guest one day, the next thing you know, we're talking about space needs for a local business or a local community icon, and it's really important to just have those frank and open conversations. I know during some of the most stressful times in our lives, it was stressful to be with everybody. So somebody said to me today in a meeting, said it's good to meet some kindred spirits, and I said, well, yeah, if nothing else, a shoulder to cry on, right? So just want to say thank you all to you as well, and then as we wrap up, returning in 2026. This is something that was a part of the organization prior to the 2019 changeover, and that's the Certified Tourism Ambassador Program. So we're bringing that back. These programs help ensure that every visitor feels welcomed, informed, and connected. And so what that is, it's a training program that hotel staff, restaurant staff, our staff, you all could come through and be part of. So when you interact with a visitor in this community, you can be more informed. You can let them know where things are, where they aren't, or even direct them to the right resources. And we're really excited to bring that back. That was something that when I saw the consultants report 6 years ago, I wasn't really excited that that was getting removed. We actually found a way to get that back in the budget, and then again, that giant disruptor happened. So the success of that building and the team over there is allowing that to happen. We'll be more informed, and I think, if you haven't noticed, there's a few projects going on around town, 40 new ones you just dealt with this year, and this will help people navigate that on the ground. So just again, I want to say thank you, and we're here for any questions you may have.
Great. Thanks, Joe. You didn't mention the big news of the day for
Oh.
next year.
Yeah, well, that would have been in the presentation, but we weren't allowed to announce that Bob Dylan, is that what you're talking about? Bob Dylan will be coming. Bill, what's the date?
March 24th.
March 24th. So, yes, Bob Dylan's coming. What people probably don't know as much, maybe a few of you do, but we actually had Bob Dylan in the building last year rehearsing for multiple days. And I tell people when we're dealing with clients and they want us to keep secrets, we're good at keeping secrets because he would not be coming here now had we not held that secret as tight as we did. And that's also something about not saying no when people call. Craig, who handles all the booking, made sure not to say no when someone wanted to rehearse in the building. And now we're seeing a Minnesota native come back for his first show in Rochester in 12 years, I believe. And we are told by the promoter, we'll see if they hold to it, but will be the only Minnesota show in 2026 for Bob Dylan.
Great. Congratulations on
Thank you.
that. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of visitors that are coming from the Twin Cities and around the Midwest to that. So
Yes, I hope so. We during Nate Bargatze was a middle of the week show, and talked to an owner he owns 4 hotels in the community, and he said he had he was going to have another drink. He goes, no, I can't because I have to drive. He lives in the cities. And I said, well, you do own some hotels here. You could stay. And he said, no, we're actually sold out. And I was surprised. I mean, I was like, I know we drive some, when a lot of our performers aren't up there, but that was pretty cool. So we offered him a couch, but he didn't take it.
great. Mayor?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm really pleased to see the CTA program coming back, and I would highly recommend that all the city council take that training. I took the training. I was really disappointed when it was time to renew and go back that it wasn't coming, because even though we think we know the city, there are so many more stories and bits of information that you think you know it all, and not even close. So it's rich in the history of our community, and it is really helpful, I think, as elected officials to have some of that information. So I'd like to recommend it. And I will say, when Nate was here, I didn't go to the event, but I came downtown for dinner that night, I had the first literal traffic jam where I sat for 30 minutes stuck in downtown Rochester because the traffic was backed up so long. It was absolutely amazing. So congratulations on a huge turnout, and it's all I've heard is good things about that event. So really fun to see the Civic Center alive like that.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, not sorry, but.
I'm going to call on Administrator Zelms because I know she serves on the board and she's been instrumental in really the success of Experience Rochester. And if you didn't see it, she did an amazing presentation at your annual meeting. So perspective?
Sure. Council President, council members, I would just echo what Mr. Ward said. It's a great partnership. I try to work in the partnership like it is a department of the city, and I think that helps. It's not a contract unless we need it. Yep. It's a partnership for how we are making sure that Rochester is on the map, and so I really appreciated the partnership from Joe and his team, and I think everything that he said about it's a small but mighty team over there, and there's not that many people pulling these things off on a regular basis, and they bring people in from all over the country when it's a big one. So, I mean, I think they've done an excellent job, and I appreciate the partnership probably as much as Joe does, and I'm really impressed with how far they've come. So I appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you so much.
And appreciate Nick Landry, who's the financial wizard, and also Bill Wichter, who's the other financial wizard.
And Paula, who's a wizard.
And Paula.
Wizard Griff.
There she is back there.
Okay, now this is not the Academy Awards. So. Councilmember Keene.
Yeah, thanks for being here tonight. I really gratified looking at the longer picture here. I don't think everyone realizes you came here about a couple of months as we were just getting into COVID, and it just looked ugly, and it was a rough start. But so coming 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, and seeing some stability and some benefits is really gratifying to see. The hard thing with your industry for me is that it's not even a 10-year cycle before what's next, what's new. That's what you're talking about when you're talking about let's look at what what's our future? What's the 24-month, 18-month? Is that what we're talking about there?
Yeah, I would say so. Thank you for your comments, Councilmember. it's about what's next, but there are other people and other partners in this community, right, that decide what and how, as far as investments and let's say incentives and things. And we like to be sort of the, always sunny, always Saturday department, which is like, yeah, let's just do this. This is great. And I think that's the part of this process that for us is to find out how can we really help. And then if we find things along the way that the community has spoken loudly that they'd like to see, we're certainly, along the way, whether people are speaking loudly or we're just getting feedback that's, we're okay. Will absolutely be shared with our partners at the city because we don't make those decisions. But I do think, you passed it recently as a council priority. There are a lot fewer people downtown over the last few years. And so you'll see more and more people out in the afternoon and in the evening. And I think to see a night and weekend economy and hospital visitation staying strong can both coexist in this world. In Rochester, I believe, even though we have all those things that you saw in that ad, vibrancy is something that I would love to see if in 10 years down the road, maybe when I'm wrapping it up, I can look back and say, hey, we've added this and that because, I think kids and families and things, I think I'm from New York, which is a curse and a great thing, I think at times, but people in Minnesota should pat themselves on the back a lot more and not be afraid to reach for the stars a little bit. And sometimes we reach a little and go, well, this is good enough. And okay is not okay with me. And we're more than okay, don't get me wrong. But I think as we start to set forward, at the same time, there's not unlimited resources. There's real issues. There's a massive, amount of infrastructure change right now with the city. So I think it's meeting the moment. And right now we're in a phase where we can collect information. We can start to put together a strategy around visitation. And then through the timing that one fits with you all and your policies and such, and with our partners to be able to get on those agendas when they need to. Because, I think part of what we need to do as an organization is you always need to meet your city where you're working, where they are. And, I think that's, when Allison was mentioning, about the work that we've done, it really was just trying to tune into where you all needed it to be. It's not, so many visitor bureaus will say, well, we're doing this kind of against the city. And it's like, it's the city's building. It's the city we're in. How about we try to meet? Doesn't mean we always do. We're not always 100% successful with that, but to try to meet and come along. And then eventually, you earn some credibility and hopefully can convince some people to one or two of our ideas along the way.
I appreciate you using the words like this experiment we were doing, because I think of it as those early days of saying, this is a new business model, will this work? And as we've said, it takes a mighty team. But I also want to call out tonight that back then we built a board with Jacob and Bill, and that was 6 years ago, and they're still here. So that stability really lends a lot to it. It's kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure Bill Von Bank was original board member too, and switched over to the employee side. So I think that I want to call that out as a wonderful community engagement, something that's really done well for our city.
Oh, I agree. I said a thank you to them earlier, and I did want to close when the questions were done, but to really say thank you, because they changed the trajectory for my family in a good way. And starting off in Rochester was definitely interesting when you're coming here in the pandemic gets underway, and you're all Minnesotans, have your own way of communicating a little bit. And we're trying to break through that and get invited to picnics and things. But it was different. And for me, it changed our lives' trajectory in so many great ways. And so I want to say thank you. And I know I'll say this about Bill Wichter from the very first day. He said it was this great way. I probably have to clean it up a little bit, but basically said, don't screw it up. And I know his background enough to know he's a very, very detailed person, that details matter, that finance matters. And so I took that as, we're going to give you the autonomy and we're going to help you set a vision. But if you screw up, you're going to be hearing from me a lot. And I really appreciate, we've taken that seriously every day since. And we've had our close to moments. But I think overall our trajectory is really strong.
Councilmember Wall.
Thank you. I really appreciate the Experience Rochester newsletter. I get lots of opportunities to read things, either in print or over the internet. That's one that I actually open up and read from top to bottom. It's very interesting with opportunities. So I would think the more people that we could get that into their inboxes and get that thing opened up would only be great for Rochester. That's really well done. So commendations.
Thank you.
In your presentation, the two Iowa markets, while a small sample, 4% to 3%, dropped 25%. Why would Iowa markets be visiting a little bit less this year rather than in the past?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't necessarily know if I know the answer to that off the top of my head. I think, in general, there's a lot of people that are traveling less in different ways. So I don't know if I could specifically answer to Iowa. I was actually surprised when I got here. I just wasn't even thinking about Iowa, of how many people come north from Iowa and come west, I guess, from Wisconsin. So we could get with the team and try to find an answer and get that to you. Great question.
Is there a motion?
Yes, is this a two-part motion?
I believe it is, council member.
Should I just read the whole works? Are we doing it in two separate votes?
Why don't you do it together?
Let's do it. All right, I'll make a motion to receive the filing of the 2025 Experience Rochester and Mayo Civic Center Corporation Year in Review Report. And number two, accepting the 2026 budget for Experience Rochester and the Mayo Civic Center Corporation.
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded by council member, I think it was Miller I heard first. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously, and congratulations on a great year, and looking forward to that Dylan concert in
Thank you. I was
March.
going to say, I have a feeling we're going to see you at Dillon. My son, Anthony, who's 13, he said to me yesterday when I broke the news to him, we were having Bob Dylan, he goes, I don't know anything about his music, but they made a movie about the guy, so he must be good, and I have to come. So everyone do that themselves. So
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will take a 10-minute break.
Bill.
That's because you asked me last time. You said I never go up to that. welcome. We are now on item H3, which is contract award, Rochester Sports and Recreation Complex, and Mr. Ben Bolt or Mr. Scott Ramsey, I'm sorry. Absolutely.
Mayor Norton, council members. Ben Holt and I are here to present the contract award for the Rochester Sports
There we
and
go.
Recreation Complex. And we have a schedule up there showing that we were given permission to go out for bids. And we went through a pretty rigorous process for the bidding. We received the bids, we've analyzed them, and we're here today to get the approval, contract award, and then also talk about some budget issues. As you can see in the schedule, we have some entitlement items that we need to take care of. But if everything goes according to plan, we'll be ready to start in April. And then we have a phase one that will be completed in spring of '27, and Ben will go over that scope. And then the final phase will be completed in spring of '28.
Yep.
It's not advancing.
Yep, there you go. I think you may have gone one extra, did you?
Sorry.
There, it's up.
Yeah, there's a lag to it, so just do it once. There we go.
So we have 4 items today. The first one is the, you did approve the contract with Knutson in November. And we're seeking approval of the amendment number 1, which is a guaranteed maximum price, $27,978,635. And we also had the contractors act as our agent to buy materials. The $27 million is for labor and taxable materials. The item number 2 is for items that the contractors are buying on our behalf, and that's non-taxable materials. Those were identified, quantified, they were in the plans, they were bids, so that number is a number we got from the contractors. So we're seeking authorization to spend that amount on non-taxable materials. The third item is seeking, authorizing us to look at value engineering items and additional funding to add back projects or selected deducts and alternates back into the project up to $65 million. And Ben will go through what those items are. The fourth item is authorizing the interim financing of $1,772 from the Economic Vitality Fund. Now that covers 50% of the road construction plus all the utilities that will serve these remnant south lots. And then also includes a proportion of the purchase cost of the property. And as you can see, we were here in February, we purchased the property. In October, you gave authorization to bids. We've spent $707 million to date on the property and design. And we mentioned, as it's shown in that schedule, we still have some land use, traffic study final plat to get to finish.
A few slides that you've seen already before. So again, just grounding us in the location of where this complex will be built. Again, at the 158 acres, it gave us some of those opportunities to have additional space around the complex itself for complementary uses. And that's part of the request this evening is some allocation for those south commercial lots that are available on this site. Next slide here, just again, is a reminder of the amenities that'll be in this complex. The next slide, we'll take a look again. When we went out for bid, we built in several alternates that we could have, either add alternates or deduct alternates in order to stay within budget or hit our budgetary numbers there. So we'll talk about that on the next slide. The one other item I would highlight here is just the image there on the right side of your screen is an updated rendering as we've worked our way through the traffic study and other development components. The stormwater areas here are more reflective of what the final build will be. The roadway is more reflective of what the final build will be. So just continue to refine these images as we learn more and design more directly. And this is where we're at today and the rendering that is built off of the plans that were all sent out for bid. So getting to those alternates, wanted to put a kind of graphic representation here of what we're talking about. So if the council chooses to authorize that $1.7 million of the South commercial costs, that allows us to put more scope right back into the project from day one, be very close to what the scope was that we've been talking about for the last several months here. And the two main things there would be both of the multi-purpose rectangle fields. This list of recommendations of alternates is in a bit of a prioritized order, and that was really built off of staff as well as the potential operator discussing with them about how these different amenities would impact the pro forma or the operating budget each year, as well as the conversations and feedback we got from the community working group and other community members that we've interacted with over the last several months. So again, those multi-purpose rectangle fields were the highest priority. The community members that have communicated with me, the rest of our team, and been part of that community working group process, put a high priority on those items, and we do too. We also think they're important to the pro forma.
Councilmember Miller.
So, for point of clarification, you mentioned updating the pro forma with the potential operator. Is that what's included in the packet in the next?
It is.
That's an
Yes.
updated pro forma.
So that's an updated pro forma, especially in light of what amenities would be available in 2027, and then being ready for the full, all amenities available in 2028. Yes. Other complementary features like the basketball court, more amenities be added to the ball field areas to make them more of that tournament caliber. Those would be the things we'd be able to add in if the council chooses to authorize that allocation of funds for those south lots. And then the third item that was to authorize staff to continue working on funding or other value engineering, could potentially add in some of those other two features, which are both pretty high price tag items, but being able to add the artificial turf outfields back into that north quad of fields, as well as potentially adding those quad buildings in, which would provide more restroom and shade and things like that right within the ball field pinwheels. I would just highlight there, just to make sure we're clear, that central building is in the base bid. That will be constructed. That will have all of the minimum number of restroom facilities, concessions, and the other things that are needed there to make a great visitor experience at the facility. So those are in the base. This adding the quad buildings would be something that would just be additional and complementary to the ball field activities there. So that kind of buzzes through that. I would turn it over to Deputy Administrator Parrish.
Mayor, President, members of the council, really appreciate the team that's worked on this project. An amazing amount of work has happened in order to bring you the opportunity to consider awarding bids this evening. Maybe just two concluding comments from my perspective. First and foremost, you are looking at some enhancement to the project with the economic vitality funding that supports the private development that we ultimately feel will happen there. We will be bringing you forward an approach to marketing those lots at some point. But also want to note, it's not anticipated or planned, or we will not be displacing any of the previous economic vitality funding that you all have talked about. This really is sort of an interim financing measure before we recover funding on those lots. But we do feel within the sales tax overall, we have the ability to sort of navigate successfully and not mitigate any of your previous expectations with that. And secondly, really just want to extend appreciation. We've had good and preliminary conversations with RCTC on how we can best meet indoor needs in the facilities. So active and robust conversations over the last month or so in that space. Extend thanks out to Councilmember Wall, Council President Schubring, Mayor Norton, and City Administrator Zelms for kind of participating in our working group where we're engaging with the RCTC leadership. And I would just say the conversations at this point have been encouraging. And we certainly, through the course of early next year, would expect to be able to bring back a better status update on where we're at with that. But overall, encouraging. I would say from a timing perspective, there's a couple things that you want to bear in mind with this. We've certainly at kind of the prime bidding period for this project. This is why we, advanced the timing that we did here. Ultimately, earthwork contractors, which is a substantial part of the work here, are lining their work up for next year. So, we are sort of in the best position there. We are trying to manage construction escalation, which has been a challenge for all of our capital projects as we move forward. But this is also, from a timeliness perspective, important. We have bids that are awardable here. And from a timing perspective, those are risks to the project if we were to ever consider delay, that we would potentially be looking at, lost construction seasons and or construction escalation. So with that, the team is very happy to answer any questions that you have, and looking forward to your conversation.
I'll start out, and Administrator Parrish, you touched on it. I have some concerns about dipping into the Economic Vitality Fund for that 1.7 million overage. One, I want to say congratulations for really getting it to the point where it's within budget, and I know that there was a lot of work done behind the scenes that to get it to that point. But can you talk about really how temporary is this allocation, and assure us that when it comes to the Economic Vitality Fund, which is focused on housing and workforce, that all of our short-term priorities will be covered, meaning in the next 2 years, and as well as the long-term priorities. And then what is the anticipated temporary allocation period?
Yeah, so again, I don't anticipate that we'll disrupt any of your previously planned investments in economic vitality. I would say there's a couple things in that space. However, I can't tell you when the lots will sell, right? I think that's going to be part of the next council conversation that says, how aggressively do we want to price these lots for future consideration? How much do we want to manage who our neighbors are going forward in the future? And, what kind of price do we want to have? If we want to maximize value, we might have to wait for the right users and the right price and the right offers to come in. If we want to sell quickly and aren't as concerned about users, that certainly could shorten the marketing time frame. So we would bring forward a plan, do an RFP for a broker, and ultimately bring that forward. Again, though, in the scheme of our sales tax, we have been allocating some cash for this project. So this is maybe where it gets a little bit complicated, or not complicated, but just hard to walk through. We have been allocating cash for the Regional Sports and Rec Complex since the inception of the project. So we have some cash balance within that. However, we are issuing debt for that. So we can transpose the cash we've reserved for the Regional Sports and Rec Complex in the first initial year and a half, and then ultimately utilize that for economic vitality in the future. So on net, we're still going to plan $65 million for this project, $65 million plus the interest on the bonds that you would be considered to issue early next year, or you'll be asked to consider issuing early next year. So it's just like timing, really, and I don't, again, anticipate that we're going to negatively impact any of the activity that we had. I hope that answers your question, but it might not be super clear either.
No. Councilmember Miller.
Thank you. I still have some questions about the pro forma. And so I looked back to our July study session, and it looks like the only change is that for year one, which I assume is 2027, you took the earnings before income, interest tax, et cetera, of the 50% of stability. And then the rest of years 2 through 5 are the same as they were before. Is that correct?
Yes, that is what's showing in there. Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious from the conversation with the potential operator, when we look at this slide and we see a variety of alternatives, both deductions and additions, What's the sensitivity analysis if we fund these or not, right? Like, what are the impacts of each one of these? And I don't see a depth of analysis there of like helping us understand the impacts of these potential alternates to the overall economic viability of a project like this. Could you help me understand a little bit better? Like,
Yes, I would say the one that we feel has the most sensitivity are the multi-purpose rectangle fields. If those were to be natural grass, that would definitely impact the rental and the ability to host events there with being more susceptible to weather, wet conditions, those types of things. So that one, I would say, would certainly have an impact on the performance of the operating budget. The other ones, so there are other facilities around the country that have ball fields set up in the way that we're proposing for 4 of these ball fields to be set up, where the artificial turf infield and then natural grass outfields, and they're still, the infield, the egg lime area is the most susceptible to the rain and weather and those types of things. So they can be played on quickly, very similarly to the fully artificial turf fields. I mean, those will be the preferred fields, but we will still be able to utilize all 8 fields in a really meaningful way with having natural grass outfields.
Okay.
Many of the other items, those were items that the community working group highlighted, shade, things like that are obviously important things for the user experience, things that we want to have to be part of this project. And potentially as we work through the project and feel more comfortable with the contingency dollar amount that we have, and we have some less risk as we get kind of up out of the ground, so to speak, in construction. Some of the smaller dollar items we could likely add in at that time if we still have contingency funds available. But I would say the one that would have the greatest impact in reviewing with the operator would be those multi-purpose fields if they were to be natural grass.
and is there a sense of the scale of that impact and actual dollars? Like looking at the sensitivity of the operating model, did they provide any guidance on that?
Yeah, I do not have a dollar amount for that.
Okay. And my second question is about the potential additional revenue, or I mean, are you talking about potential sponsorships? Like I feel like at different points we've heard about corporate sponsorships. Is that part of that additional revenue source?
Yes, it is. You're talking about as far as the actions that's requested.
Well, I guess when
sponsorship and advertising is certainly part of the pro forma, as you see in there. I think we are also, yes, we have a period of time here where we can continue to work on private investment into the facility to be able to add some of these items in as well. We don't have that secured today that we can share, but that is part of the strategy that we'll be working on over the next few months before we would need to make that firm decision on, for example, the buildup of the layers and those sort of things to get up to the artificial turf or natural grass, those types of alternates. We'll need to make that decision very soon in order to be able to do that and not have it cost more later to go back and change it.
Okay, but I guess I'm just trying to understand when would any like naming rights or any of that sort of be a defined amount?
Could I maybe hop in, or Aaron Parrish?
Administrator Zelms, go ahead.
I would defer to Mr. Parrish.
Oh, Administrator Parrish, go ahead.
Yeah, Your Honor. I mean, I think as you see the operator agreements on second here, and there is a structure within that agreement about how they solicit that, and we've had good conversations about it, and we do have the Sports Academy representative available via video here as well if there's questions in that space. But I would just offer, we have to calibrate the budget to the revenues that are available, and I think that's part of the design of this model, just not really any different than what you've heard from the Civic Center here recently and the Experience Rochester team. I mean, we want to maximize those revenues. If I recall off the top of my head, they're like 300,000 plus or minus. But
sure.
If they don't materialize, we have to recalibrate the expense side of the equation. And we won't know that, but they will be brought forward to you. Particularly significant naming rights, would be subject to council approval.
Okay.
Councilmember Wall.
And we're just doing questions
We're just doing questions right now.
It's your time, council member.
Thank you. First, I commend the staff for the great work that has been done thus far, and especially for the work that has been done in land acquisition and what we might ultimately benefit from in terms of the sale. It's part of the public document that we could earn back, perhaps at a high end, 7 to 12 million, which would exceed, of course, the cost of what we paid. That tremendous work. If a preferred partner would come in and offer 7 million tomorrow, making all this up, if we were to receive that money, could we plow that money right back into the project for the alternates?
Your Honor, you certainly could. That would be a council policy decision. And, you know, as you go through the sale process of that, I think we would have a conversation of how we designate the proceeds. But I think it's a good opportunity also to highlight, and maybe it walks back to Council President Schubring's earlier question. You know, the policy question here, to a certain extent, is, you know, should the overall project, the $65 million, you know, sports complex project, you know, sort of be encumbered with supporting the original development costs? I think there's a great return to be had there. The timing of it obviously will, you know, work and, you know, try to be aggressive, you know, with the way we market that property. But we do think there's opportunity there. And if someone did come, you certainly would have the opportunity to address many of these needs. There's also a notion too, though, on the marketing of these lots, there may be more opportunity to maximize value when people see it coming out of the ground. They understand it's coming. They know. We've had some interesting preliminary inquiry in this space, but these deals do take some time too, particularly commercial development, to materialize, come forward, get entitled, and then ultimately get a check too.
Councilmember Doring.
Just a clarifying question. Can you explain to me sideline netting and how the removal of that is not a safety concern?
Yeah, so we would still have the minimum sideline netting around the backstop and towards the dugouts and over top of the dugouts. This would be a further extension down the outfield lines. So it's kind of a nice to have, but not a need to have, like that netting that would be covering more of the infield space.
Any further questions?
Yep.
Councilmember Keen.
Yeah, I wanted to understand on this economic vitality 1.772. Did we back into that by picking the top 5 here, and that's all we could fund from it, or was there a reason why it's 1.7 million as opposed to 3 million?
Yeah, Your Honor, I think the answer is yes to both of those questions. But just to walk it out, the 1.7 is sort of grounded in what the shared road and infrastructure costs, because ultimately when you have access to that site, you know, there's a shared expense. So if this was conventional development, we would say you pay for your side of the road, we pay for our side of the road. There's a timing issue on these things almost always.
Yeah.
But in this case, we're saying, you know, there's a portion of that expense that's allocated there. And then as Mr. Ramsey mentioned, we took a proportionate share of the land costs. So if there's 11 acres allocated here and it was 100 whatever plus acres originally, just that, you know, proportion of the original $5+ million acquisition cost has then been allocated in there.
Okay, so it was not just backed into by this is the amount of money we need. It really was based on a conceptual cost that should be shared across the different land usage.
Certainly just saying the private activity should, you know, pay for the private activity.
Yep.
And, you know, there is justification and rationale for all that.
Okay, all right. The other thing, we're at the point here where we have bids in, we're looking to accept them, but I heard a quote of continue to refine. And that's probably just language, but we're pretty set right now, aren't we?
Yeah, Your Honor, I think you would have this project advance in the way you see it. The continue to refine language really is saying we brought a contractor on, and when we design these documents, certainly we get a lot of great feedback from contractors on how we might have been able to do it differently or better. And so, you know, if there's enhancements there, they're doing some, you know, additional earthwork and excavation to determine, you know, if we can move some dirt from over here to over there.
Yep. All right.
We would just say if there's any benefits in that process, they could accrue to the project and be awarded to these alternates. And as Mr. Bolt also indicated, to the extent that we get better information as we do that initial excavation and go through some of the first tougher phases of the project, we do carry project contingency here, and if we have the ability to allocate that, we certainly would want to bring that forward for consideration once the project is a little bit more stabilized.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at, and I think I understand the idea. We'll continue, but you probably would call us at 95% design complete, and we're at execution.
I would just say we're in execution, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Wall.
I would love to offer a four-part motion. Number one, authorizing amendment number one, guaranteed maximum price in the amount of $27,978,675 to Knutson Construction for the Rochester Sports and Recreation Complex, project number J2870. And number two, authorizing a budget of $24,207,087 for city and CMAR purchases of task-exempt materials for the Rochester Sports and Recreation Complex, project number J2870. And number three, authorizing staff to look for value engineering and additional funding opportunities to add back into the project selected deducts and add alternates up to the $65 million allocation. And finally, number four, authorizing interim financing in the amount of $1,772,000 from Economic Vitality Fund to cover the property purchase and 50% of the road, utilities, grading, and so forth serving the south remnant lots to allow addition of the recommended alternates and deducts.
A motion made by Councilmember Wall. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Wall, you have the floor.
Thank you. In our current bidding environment, I am thrilled to see how the bids were returned in a way that can provide an excellent project for the city of Rochester, the region, and many states around. When we were receiving bids early this year and everything seemed to be coming in so far over our estimates, I think many of us were living in worry of the same thing happening tonight. Instead, what has been brought back to us is a project that is within hailing distance of what we thought we could do with $65 million. There are a few deducts. I think I see many opportunities to be able to add back those deducts within the next 12 to 18 months in the period of construction, should things fall favorably to us in terms of partnerships, in terms of other people who want to participate materially in land usage and providing other opportunities at that same site. Additionally, with the sale of the south remnants, that money too could perhaps be used in a way that will make this an even better project. I am just absolutely convinced that the city of Rochester needs to provide the very, very best project that we can that will set us apart from other sports complexes in the region so that people are anxious to come to Rochester. It was only about 3 weeks ago that I was speaking to a person who who organizes tournaments for their city. And she said she was really looking forward to 27, that she was waiting for those windows to open so that she could bring her community here for any number of tournaments that might be available through the course of the summer. I think that we will, with this project, present a project that provides the least risk to the city and by far the greatest benefits to the city in the short term and very much so in the long term. I would also be very much in favor of, should we be able to find the money, that we make all four of the ball fields entirely turfed to make them more amenable. I appreciate Mr. Bolt's advice that the outfields would still be usable. The infields clearly are most important for ball games, but if we could make those all turfed, I just think that would again continue to set us apart in the region for an #1 sports complex. Thank you.
Councilmember Palmer, anything to add?
No, I would just agree with what Mr. Wall said. I'm looking forward to this project being kicked off and moving ahead.
Councilmember Doring.
I move to table this motion until there is a formal memorandum of understanding with RCTC regarding the use of indoor facilities on their campus.
A motion has been made by Councilmember Doring. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Further discussion, Mayor Norton.
Yeah, it's not going to come as a surprise, but I feel like I need to make my statements again because we're at some pretty important decision-making points. I have been disappointed from the beginning about how this plan came forward. I have been disappointed in the choice of a location out southeast. I am disappointed that instead of focusing on what the community wanted, which is an indoor facility, and while I appreciate, as Administrator Parrish mentioned, we are in the process of having some discussions, but we are not ready yet to have a memorandum of understanding. And were I a council member, I would have seconded your motion, Councilmember Daring, because we have rushed ahead prior to collecting the sales tax on this project when we could have waited until the sales tax were collected to start the project. We could have waited and prioritized the things the community wanted and expected, which were indoor facilities, rather than sinking $65 million plus or minus $1 million into an outdoor facility that is only available for use for limited times in good weather. That is not what the community thought they were getting. It's not what they want. And so I just have to continue to share my disappointment that we have not paused. There's no rush to do this now. We could wait till the sales tax funds come in. We could focus on what the community wants, which is the indoor project, and take this up again in the future at that time. So just wanted to get that all on the table because apparently I haven't spoken up enough according to my constituents. So here you go.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Wonderful. I think it depends on who you're talking to. I just want to respond to that. I've heard 3 times in the last year how Mayor Norton's disappointed with things, and I think in the dais it's distasteful to say she's disappointed in staff or the council at large here. I just don't agree with that. And there's been a lot of hard work done here. There's a lot of people in the community excited about this project. Southeast Rochester needs something to activate that space. That's a great spot for a facility like this, and I'm happy that we are going forward in that area with this. So I commend the hard work of our staff and our community will do on this going forward.
Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, and the reason you don't want to delay things is if construction costs are going up between 10 and 12% each year, we have big competitive items coming up in the community that's going to make that even higher. Bonding for it right now, then you're able to build it. You avoid that inflationary cost. In being one of the council members who voted for the sales tax extension and also did lots of presentations, this is what we thought that we would get with an indoor facility, but it always was, emphasis was on the out facilities. And if you think about it, you can use it from April 1st basically to November 15th pretty easily, and I think that you'll see lots of use with it. I think the multi-purpose fields are a wonderful addition to this. You know, it's kind of funny, our last presentation, Mr. Ward had said, reach for the stars. And I think that people will be very proud of us in 3 to 5 years to say, wow, what a facility.
Councilmember Miller.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I'll just acknowledge that many of us came into this discussion midway through the process and inherited a series of decisions. So I've had a lot of catching up to do compared with some of my colleagues. But when I came into this early on with a briefing session, remember the presentation of there would be initially a desire for an indoor and outdoor, and that didn't fit within the context. And to make a premier facility, to Councilmember Wall's point, would be an outdoor facility, and 8 artificial turf baseball fields were a differentiator for those types of facilities. And yet tonight, I see that we have 4 of those outfields that will not be artificial turf, are not as multi-purpose perhaps as they were presented originally. And that with looking at the additional potential deductions or additions as still in flux, I just wonder at what point this no longer is a premier facility that is regionally an attractor or regionally significant. And where I would look to an analysis of that is a more detailed sensitivity analysis of what is the impact of funding or not funding these alternates. How does that impact a 5-year projection of the model? I mean, when I look at this and see what was presented to us tonight in the packet for the next item compared with July, I see it was simply a copy replace, take 50% capacity or 50% of stability number, fit it in. I don't see any additional analysis coming to us, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable with the level of detail in the operations. And I appreciate Councilmember Wall's point as well that these bids came in within a range that we could work within the sports complex. And I acknowledge that. They absolutely did, and that's heroic work. But what I don't see is the implications to the operations and how that could leave us with a premier facility that everyone wants to come to, or a facility that didn't turn out to be quite as viable and now is potentially a significant financial risk to the city in the long term. And I just don't see the supported analysis beyond the build to make me feel comfortable supporting this tonight. I don't plan to. And I share Mayor Norton's frustration that we're not in a different place to understand the complement of indoor and outdoor meeting the needs of the community. And so, again, I know that the potential operator is on the virtual meeting and perhaps has more to share. I would love to hear it. But I just see all the work around the how to get this bid through and not enough work, in my opinion, around how does this getting the bid to meet the sales tax amount get us to an operating model that we still feel comfortable with.
Councilmember Doring.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the sentiment that my colleague Mr. Miller just made. When I looked through the council packet this evening and saw for this evening and prepared and saw all the design alternatives and saw the reduction from 8 fully artificial turf ball fields down to 4, and given that the amount of the projections was based on tournament play and the sell of those tournaments was an extended season because of the ability to play on turf. That just started me down the road of questioning the pro forma a little bit more quickly than I normally would, and I was expecting a more substantial analysis to go along with tonight's presentation, and maybe we'll get it during the second part of our votes regarding the sports complex this evening. Maybe we won't. I just don't know where we're at with that. I am highly disappointed that we aren't taking more time. I appreciate the comments from my colleagues on the dais who have had more time than this, and also colleagues who have said that they have heard from people from the community who are excited about this project. I have not heard from those folks. Overwhelmingly, I have not heard from those folks. I have heard from folks who are concerned that they have not been listened to. I have heard from folks who are concerned that this is going to burden the city for a long time, that this will have a negative impact on their property taxes because they haven't seen analysis that this will actually generate revenue. I have heard concerns that they will not be able to enjoy this amenity as community members. I've heard an overwhelming desire for an increased indoor spaces. My desire to push the vote or table the vote until there was clarification about a memorandum of understanding with RCTC was to have some clarification about what we might do in that indoor space to alleviate some concerns, so it didn't seem like we were just chasing after a shiny new toy and not listening to our constituents about their desires. I understand that wasn't the will of this council this evening, and I understand that, and I can live with that. But I am planning not to vote to move forward this evening with this item. but I thank you for your work.
Thank you, council member. I think I'll weigh in at this point, and as others have said, this issue has really taken the time of this council from this year in February to tonight's last meeting, and it may look like we started with this and we're ending with this, but I would say that there has been a lot of work that has been to address community concerns. And when I heard community concerns, I heard this: we're not getting community access and we're not seeing the indoor sites. And we have pushed to ensure that we're seeing community gap analysis, and we're also looking at community engagement. We're going to hear more later tonight about community engagement and marketing of our sites holistically across Parks and Rec. There is a lot of people in our community that don't know what we have now. And so we need to continue the work to let the community know what we have, and then we also have to continue the work, and we'll hear more about this evening, I believe, to looking to where are those gaps where we can provide scholarships, we can provide sliding fee schedules for recreational opportunities. And then we heard community access indoor sites. And we did put, and this council agreed unanimously for a memorandum of understanding to go into formal discussions with RCTC to reimagine that 30-year partnership that we've had. And myself, the mayor, Councilmember Wall, and staff have been meeting for the last 2 weeks. We have worked to elevate that project, and that what our community is asking for. It's not there tonight, but I think the discussions are going well, and I'm optimistic that we are going to see something fruitful that will either be with RCTC or other options where we can have a holistic indoor recreational facility. I know our staff is working really hard to get that up there, and I would say to the council, keep pushing on community access indoor space. I think earlier this year we heard from some, we don't know if it's going to happen to have a phase 2. I'm in a place now where our staff is hearing we want that indoor space and we want it expedited. And so I'm confident that we're going to see that. And I think when I look back in 2 years ago, the voters voted for economic benefit, sports tourism, and community access. And I want to get where we're a place where we have both. We have some of it tonight, and my continued charge to our team is to keep working on that community access and indoor space moving forward. Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, I'll call the question. Roll call, please.
Clerk Kaso, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Keene.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Nay.
Councilmember Wall.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Doring.
Nay.
Council President Schubring.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-2.
Thank you. Moving on to H4, which is Rochester Sports and Recreation Complex Operator Agreement. Mr. Bolt.
Thank you, Council President and council members and mayor. To introduce and start the discussion here on this report, just wanted to highlight kind of where we've been in regards to the operator. So in February 2024, we sent out an RFP. We had 6 firms that responded with interest in being a planning partner for the Rochester Sports and Recreation Complex. Went through a selection process with city teammates and brought an agreement forward to City Council for approval. And that was with Oakview Group and Sports Academy in May 2024. Over the course of the research and time that we've spent, Sports Academy has really shown themselves to be a firm that has a lot of experience in programming and operating sports and recreation facilities, and has been a valuable partner to us as we've walked through the steps of updating the market study, developing the pro forma, participating in design meetings, and just being there along with the city team as we've worked through this project for the last year and a half. I would just say that since the last time we met and reviewed the pro forma, we did review that document, all the documents of the pro forma, with another large sports and recreation facility management team in the Midwest, and they provided valuable feedback to us. We went back to the Sports Academy and continued those discussions to, at least from the city teammate perspective, feel more comfortable with what the pro forma was developed even from the last time that we came and presented earlier this summer in July. The operator agreement is in the packet today. I think approving that agreement tonight really enables Sports Academy to get started on the work of beginning to market the complex, start to line up the tournament activity, and get things, just really get everything set up to go, to start with the plans for reservations and scheduling, working with the city team to make sure that the priorities of the city team with community access as well as the sports tourism are incorporated into the scheduling, and then go to work with the relationships that they have with the national baseball and softball and sports groups that they have connections with to start lining up events to be held here in Rochester at the new facility.
Mr. Ball, can you hold a council member?
I'll wait till he's
Oh, you'll
finished.
wait, okay.
Just a few highlights of what's in the agreement. The agreement, if it were approved, we'd begin in January 2026 with that agreement, as the current planning agreement that we've been working with that comes to the end of that term here at the end of this month. And then the new agreement would start in January and go through the first 5 years of operation of the facility. City teammates would be directly involved on a very regular basis with the operations team to make sure that we were covering the marketing, the scheduling priorities, financial performance, sponsorship, and advertising. The agreement outlines monthly, quarterly, and annual checkpoints in there, as well as big things like the naming rights that we discussed earlier. Those would need city approval in order to be implemented, so it'd be a really close working relationship between Sports Academy and the city team. On the financial components of the agreement, there is a base management fee that is in the agreement and outlined there that would be paid to Sports Academy for their expertise and all the time that they would have and investment they would have in operating the facility. And I would just highlight that the management incentive fee in there is only payable in the event that the facility operates in a net positive way for that year. Any revenue generated, all revenue generated above expenses would be retained within the facility budget that would go towards maintenance as well as upgrades to the facility.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Yeah, just for curiosity, when you started down this road of finding an operator, how many different outfits did you look at? How many was there at the table to begin with?
Yep, we had responses to that original RFP from 6 firms.
6, okay, fair. And then what stuck out most about this one that you decided to lean their direction?
I would say it's their programmatically. I think they brought the most to the table. Some of the other operators that we interviewed, they were more involved just from a facility operations perspective. They weren't quite as experienced on developing their own programming within the facility. where the pro forma and the plan for the sports complex will be that there'll be in-house homegrown tournaments that'll be sanctioned by a national body, but there'll be events that are here that can happen on an annual basis and be available for our community teams as well as teams coming in regionally and nationally participate. And those are all areas that Sports Academy has a great deal of expertise.
What I heard you say is they have the highest probability of activating that space to the maximum.
That is our belief, yes.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Bolt, on, so if we approve this operator agreement today, that the Sports Academy will start looking at bookings for 2027. Can you tell us, one, the kind of sophistication, and maybe you can introduce the Sports Academy representative as well to answer the question, kind of the sophistication in the modeling that they use as far as scheduling tournaments, and at what point will we as a council get a first blush of how successful we are being as far as leading into that 2027 season?
Sure. And John Spots is with us here virtually and could speak to the sophistication of the scheduling. Perhaps I'll just start by saying, as far as check-ins or making information available to the council and community on how bookings are going and tournament planning is going, we'll be, again, involved with them. We'll have regular meetings to hear from them how they're doing, and we'll certainly get that information out to the council at the frequency that you would like to see that information. Perhaps I'll turn it over to John if he wants to share more on the scheduling and maybe what the first steps would be if the agreement is approved tonight.
Mr. Spots?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council President, City Council members. As far as the scheduling goes, the sanctioning body that we're working with will be our kind of marketing arm within all the various club organizations that are out there. So, and within their module, because we will, when we sell a registration to come to a tournament, that will be done through their website, because that's where we'll have our events listed. And then through that, we'll do the scheduling of which team plays which team and so forth. But that's all extremely sophisticated. These are big organizations that have been in operation for a number of years. And so, in addition to that marketing effort that will happen just through people looking for tournaments at a certain time within a certain geographic area and searching their website, of course, we're going to, within our own team, have a tournament director that will be out looking at the whole universe of club teams within, especially a 3-4 hour drive time, and then reaching out to those organizations personally in addition to that. So it's multiple different approaches. In the end, it's our tournament director that is going to run the show on these, but their tools will help to make that happen.
So, Mr. Spots, when might we see that marketing effort really hit gear and us seeing, okay, we've booked some tournaments for 2027?
In October to mid to late October of 2026 will be when we publish our schedule for the following year. And that schedule is going to be all the weekends that could be activated from really the tournament season starts that first weekend of April, give or take, when Easter falls that year, and runs the summer season, spring, summer runs through the end of July. And then there's a fall season that runs in September and through the first 2-3 weeks of October. So we will be working with them to set a schedule of events that they are going to back and work on the marketing side with us off of that. And those will be a combination of local and regional with national qualifiers in there and so forth that will be part of that package. So that's when we will publish our tournament schedule. And that's when the serious sales effort can really start. And clubs aren't looking to book their 2027 tournaments until really they finish fall ball of that year. In late October, early November, they're starting to get a jump and put together their schedules of where they think they might go. So November, December of next year will be extremely busy in terms of doing that.
Any other questions, Councilmember Miller?
I'll just ask the same question I did in the prior item, now that you're on the screen. Is the only change that we see to the financial model summary for year one, because there would be 4 fields available in 27, and so you took the 50% of stability. Is that the only change? Is that the level of reanalysis that we see?
Well, the 50% model is more or less filling up those 4 fields, which is what we believe, given our study of that Midwest and Minnesota and Wisconsin market, we think we should be able to fill up 4 fields. We thought possibly a little bit more, but that's all we'll have available on the complex. So if we do get the demand that's above and beyond that, then, we could bring in other city or school facilities on certain weekends where we have additional demand and make some additional revenue and incur a little bit of extra expense on that in order to fulfill that demand. But, on the weekends that we're going to be maxed out under that 50% model, that would be the 4 fields is the 50%. So that's why we felt comfortable with that.
But I guess simply to rephrase my question, the analysis that we got in July for year one sensitivity, you took 50% of stability because there will be 4 fields under the schedule, and you just put that in to the same projection. So there's no new sensitivity only having 4 fields to what if it's low, what if it's high. That wasn't done. That was just take the 50% of stability from the original analysis and put it into a new schedule. I mean, that's what I see. Is that true?
It's the same numbers. It's based on the fact that the demand from what we've seen and the way we've seen some other facilities in that area, the uptake that they've had in their early years, that's the demand that we believe will, based on our market studies, be there. And we have enough fields to fulfill that amount of demand and run tournaments of that size.
Okay, so I'm hearing the answer yes to the question I asked.
Yes.
And I guess then my follow-up question for Mr. Bolt is, you told us that you followed up with a community working group with another operator to get some comparison of this financial analysis. But all we see in the packet tonight is the original analysis with year one column replaced with a different column from the same analysis. And I'm just a little perplexed why there's not more information to help us feel comfortable with this different facility and schedule, but the same financial analysis. And I don't know if there's a question there, but I'm just curious why we're not getting more information about this, all these checks that you and your team did.
I guess just to attempt to answer that question, the further discussions and analysis that we've done over the last few months, it's just made us feel more comfortable with what was originally shared with the council back in July.
Okay, so the net output is you did the right thing. The model from July was right.
We believe it is, yes.
Okay.
Further discussion, is there a motion on this item?
Make a motion.
Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, approving the Rochester Sports Recreation Complex operator agreement with Sports Academy.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilmember Palmer, seconded by Councilmember Keen. Councilmember Palmer, you have the floor.
Well, I think Mr. Bolts has done a great job on all of this, but I think getting this good operator for us is a great step.
Councilmember Keen, any more to add? I would just say, you know, and I've delved into this, and I see what Councilmember Miller is looking at. I guess what I see is there is a level of risk that we're taking with this, and my analysis of it is that risk is not as great as the positive outcome that we can see with this. And I think to go back to, it was mentioned by one of my colleagues, the experience Rochester, you have a good operator and a good operator agreement that you hold them accountable, that and we're transparent between our staff and the operator, and we know where we need to adjust in order to get what we need out of it. And so I feel confident in Mr. Bolt. I feel confident in Ms. Zelms and Mr. Parrish, and they know that this is something we're watching. They know the community is watching, but that said, there is risk involved, and there's positive risk that this community can enjoy with it as well. Councilmember Fredericks.
One last thing, and I'm not being sarcastic here. I just want to make sure if we hire said people for $80,000 to get it lined up or programming lined up, I want to make sure that our facility is ready to go if we have all this programming lined up and we paid these people to do it. And that's something too. We have guarantees that facilities are going to be ready, such like that. I just don't want to be caught, having stuff lined up, paying the money to have it lined up, and then all of a sudden we can't come through and have a tournament because we're not done.
Yeah, happy to.
Tell me something.
I totally feel, I feel what is being shared with me. I mean, I've been trying to, be as thorough and diligent about all of this as I possibly can. If I just have a moment of vulnerability here.
Are you sleeping?
I'll answer that question later off the microphone. I would say, discussing with our construction manager at risk, the firm that we've been working with, especially the mass grading company and their timeline, they all feel very confident that we're going to be on schedule for delivering the project. There's variables, right? But they've built in some cushion into that. Their goal is to have all the mass grading done by the end of 2026 for all 10 athletic fields and more. I mean, they want to be as aggressive as they can. From their perspective, the quicker they can get through this project, they can get on to the next project, right? So they want to do that, do it well, have a very finished quality product when they're done being part of our project here. But the construction folks that we've hired and consulted with, they feel comfortable with the schedule.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 5-2 with council members Miller and Doring voting nay. Next item is Recreation Programming Access Funding Request. Mr. Bolt, Ms. Bowman, and Mr. Widman will lead it off.
I am filling in for Ben this evening. Good evening, Mayor, Council President, council members. This is going to be a brief introduction to this item because this has been an ongoing discussion with council. What we're addressing with this request is barriers to activities offered by our program partners in Rochester and looking for any gaps, as previously mentioned, any program gaps that exist. As you may recall, in September during a study session, idea was brought forward to establish a scholarship fund that would live in the Parks and Recreation Department budget, and those funds would be used to take a first step at this, to address any of the financial barriers to activities that are presented by either the Parks and Recreation Department or our community partners. And since then, we've had robust discussions with our park board, with ongoing discussions with council, with our community partners, with our leadership team within Parks and Recreation and city administration as well. I believe I said we have had quite a bit of discussion with the activity providers themselves. And all are excited that this is going to lead to some really great work in overcoming barriers that exist and developing programs that we're not currently providing. Those discussions led to a previous approval of contingency funds for $55,000, and those are directed towards the community engagement and marketing, as we discussed briefly already this evening. Now, Jenna Bowman is here to answer any questions you may have about where we're at with engagement, but we're still very early in the process. But as I said, we have some really clear indication that there is a need, and the requests we're going to make, that we're making this evening, will really help address those barriers that exist. I just want to point out one of the key partners that we've discussed this with is community education. We've had a very successful partnership with them over the years, and we've just timed this perfectly that they're getting ready to do some engagement, and we're going to team up with them to really maximize the potential for the information we receive, and we really want to operationalize that, and that's why we're making the request this evening. Now, we appreciate the encouragement from council that started this process, and we're here to answer any questions. I was going to bullet out some of the ideas that we've discussed, but President Schubring, you did that in the previous discussion, but that's how those funds would be used, and you have other examples in the packet information. And Ben, Jenna, and I are here to address any questions you may have.
Thank you. Actually, Ms. Bowman, maybe you can give us an update on the community engagement marketing funds that we committed, I think, in August, I want to say.
I think I was gonna say, yeah.
October.
Time flies when you're having fun. Mayor, Council President, Council members, absolutely. So as you saw in the packet, we've been making some progress. One of the first things that was done was set up that one-stop shop on the website that was built after the model in Duluth of having our community providers and that information at one spot in the website. We've also been in active conversation with different providers as to how we might be investing those dollars. As identified in the packet, we are planning on some early 2026 efforts through Rochester Local. That includes our indoor facilities and not just City of Rochester facilities, but highlighting others in the community. We recognize that, again, we're not by ourselves in what we provide, as well as really teeing up those extracurriculars, those recreation activities. So we believe that those two guides will be really helpful in bridging some of that awareness gap. And I would just echo the comments of Director Widman on the initial conversations we've had with community education, as well as I think the conversation many of you had in receiving the report from Healthy Community Partnership and University of Minnesota Rochester. I think that data came after we were in front of you, and it's really provided this opportunity to, I don't want to say pause, but take a little breather and say, okay, we presented this plan. What is affirming in some of what they learned? What might, as we know through the information regarding social media, how might that help us tailor a bit more to what they learned. And so I would also believe that part of the next step is a possibility of continuing those conversations with that group and walk these things together. So, initially there was this idea we'd be kind of hitting the ground running between November and December with our engagement. The value, I think, to the community is we often hear we're pretty fatigued, and I think that just is a representative of how active our community is and all that's going on. But having this opportunity to pause on our side a bit to work collaboratively with community education, I think shows the strong partnership between the school district and the city of Rochester, and this ability to approach the community and say, we want to hear from you collectively while we have our own separate pathways, as also identified by Director Woodman. We have a lot of places that we do overlap. And just want to note to your point, Council President, that may also mean where might we have opportunities to build awareness and understanding in those marketing communication channels, and how might we maximize, on that investment in the months to come. So we are active in the space. I think we're preparing and gathering the information on some of the outlets, and then really being able to go strong as we head into 2026. But just to temper that a little bit, to say, because of this opportunity to work with community ed on the engagement, it may just, I even hate to say delay, but I think in a good way, delay some of the things we maybe thought we'd be picking up a little bit quicker, but I think really intentionally.
And you're adding a new partner, an important partner.
Yes.
With important information.
Absolutely. And I think the other piece I would just maybe add to that is that includes that conversation we had on what's paid and what's the unpaid, and maximizing, especially in the unpaid sectors of where we have that collaboration.
Mayor Norton?
Yeah, I just want to add that I'm really pleased to hear from both of you about the collaboration with the school district. We do have a communication gap. All of us recognize that. It's hard to reach people. The study did help us, but community ed and the school district have access to the populations of children and parents with children that we need to reach primarily. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really an exciting turn of events. And if it takes a little longer, as you say, but if you can do it together and get information and have access to people who can give you the information you need, all the better. So congrats on that.
Councilmember Miller.
I have a question about the landing page that you mentioned. I was just looking at the city website. Is that still in development? I mean, I see from adult activities and classes and youth activities and classes, a community partner section with a link on each, and they both direct to rochestermnsports.org with this to the same page. Is that what we're talking about?
URL, and it's escaping me right now of what it is.
Because I would love to get it in the public record and promote it and tell people where to go to, because I'm not necessarily maybe landing at the right page.
Another great reason, as we're going through the exercise right now of how many clicks does it take for somebody to get there, I think a great example of improving that. But I do know we have a short URL, and we'll be happy to follow up with that. I apologize that it's
I believe some of the staff sitting here may be looking for it right now.
pretty intently.
Okay. Other questions? Is there a Councilmember Palmer?
Yeah, I'll make a motion approving up to $80,000 from the 2025 contingency fund for recreational programming initiatives.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Palmer, seconded by Councilmember Doring. Councilmember Palmer?
I applaud the park department in wanting to work with community ed. I think that's a phenomenally great experience for us, and I think that this is kind of the bugaboo that's been bothering people, and how do we get to the next spot. So I appreciate them doing this.
Councilmember Doring, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now the item we've all been waiting for, H6, authorization of battery energy storage agreements. Mr. Bullock.
Good evening, Council President, Mayor Norton, and council members. I'm pleased to be here tonight to present to you the battery storage agreements that we have in your packet. As you know, our resource plan has been coming together over the past year. You've helped us authorize a lot of that. We're at 2/3 of the energy and 2/3 of the capacity required to meet our goal in 2030. This represents one more step toward reaching that with a battery system. This maybe mind-numbing chart I've heard is really gives you an idea of how we'll use the battery. So just to lay the groundwork, on the left axis is this represents a peak day in July 23rd this year. This is the load in Rochester, the electric load. So it is low late at night through early morning, and then it peaks in the middle of the day when it gets really hot. So you can see the different color areas of that chart on the left are what resources, if we backcasted our 2030 resources that we've contracted to the load on this day, this is how we think that they would perform. And the lines, the dark line is our average portfolio cost expected, and the red line is the market price of electricity. So if we were to buy it just from the market, that's what the price that we would pay. As you can see, during the course of the day, the yellow and the green are our solar and wind assets, and the blue shaded areas are our natural gas assets that we would dispatch to meet the peak on that day. And then the orange shows how we would operate the battery. So showing where number one is, that's where we would be charging the battery. That would have the effect of increasing our load, but we'd be increasing it at a time when there were one, more renewables available, and two, when prices are lowest. Then we would be discharging it later in the day. You can see the orange toward the upper right near the number 2. That's when we'd be discharging into the system. And the right-hand column shows you the prices that we would be charging at and we would be paying it. So though this is a capacity asset, there is a energy arbitrage that's an important key part of the economics. And that's why we think it's important to do a battery project and verify the economics, because again, this is backcasted economics. Now, capacity cost trends, the 2020, each year MISO, which is the grid operator, runs an auction to discover what the price of capacity should be. The 2025 auction yielded the highest prices ever. And that's primarily caused by decreasing margins across the footprint of MISO. So that means power plants are retiring. Also, there are supposed to be a lot of new builds, but those are more questionable now due to the inflation costs that are making everything more expensive, and the repeal of the tax credits for a lot of the renewable assets. And we do expect these upward cost pressures to continue into the medium term. This shows the rough economics. So there is a capacity component that's up top. This table just shows you that MISO auction result multiplied times the battery output and the contract. This contract is in the vicinity of $14 per kilowatt month. So the cost of the contract is shown in the cost column. The capacity value that it would be offsetting is in the last column. So that's the capacity value. So there is a net cost to that of $1.5 million. And then there is the added benefit of energy and auxiliary services that we did model that on the 8,760 hours a year that would basically make this a break even. So we'll be paying for our capacity both with the value of the capacity and the additional revenue we would get by dispatching into the arbitrage opportunity. Now, the current actions we have, this is a fast deployment. There are 20 megawatts. It's about 7% of our total capacity need. And this would be at sites that we currently control, at the Zumbro substation, at the service center, the RPU service center. The developer has the supply of the batteries. They're onshore, so there's no tariff risk with them. They are connecting to the distribution system, so we don't have any interconnect delay. MISO interconnects are running years in order to get the agreements. And then permitting is very simple. There's no emissions, so we have a simple zoning certification and a stormwater review. And I'd like to thank our colleagues at Community Development for helping us guide through that. The contract structure, it's a tolling agreement, and a tolling agreement means that the developer builds, owns, and maintains the battery system, and RPU is responsible for dispatching into the system. Because the developer maintains responsibility for the asset, we will also have a lease agreement where we will lease the parcel that we currently control to them in order to allow them to build and operate it. And then there'll also be an interconnection agreement, which we do as a matter of our regular business whenever we connect any assets into our distribution system. So the two locations, one is the one on the right is at our service center. The one on the left is at the Zumbro substation, which is right next to the water treatment plant across from DISC on West River Road. This is the layout at the service center. Each one of those bigger rectangles on the right is about 4 megawatt hours of storage. So there's 10 units. They also leave room for space. This is a 15 to 20 year agreement. So as the battery degrades, they may have to add additional pieces in there, and then they will be responsible for adding that additional capacity. It'll be fenced in. It'll sit at the back of our service center lot, right off East River Road. And then this is the site at the Zumbro substation. That's off West River Road. Again, it's exactly the same layout. Both of these each will be 10 megawatt and with 4-hour storage duration. And we hope to start construction during the spring thaw. And that's what I have. I think this is an important project. It is a first step toward doing something besides fossil generation that we will be doing, and it will allow us to test the concept, really analyze the data that we get from it, and present a strong economic case for putting it when we need to make the decision for the other third of capacity that we'll need to add.
Thank you. Councilmember Palmer.
Thank you. You just said something odd that it's like an experiment that we're trying to see if this works, and that kind of makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
But my first question, and I got just two of them for you, is fire and does the fire department sign off on this? How do they how do they fight a fire on this site? And then number two, I know that there's a private firm in Olmsted County that's building one. Why wouldn't we just sign up with them and have them, or have a private firm do it instead of?
It is a private firm. So we have a contract with a developer that's selling the output, just like we would sign up with that. The benefit here is that there's no MISO interconnect because it's on our distribution system. It's behind the meter, so that reduces the cost. Okay. And makes it quicker to install it.
Okay, so my only other question is the fire. How does the fire department feel, and how do they put a fire out?
So the fire department is aware that we're looking at these. We've had discussions with them, and the thought around fire protection for these is that you don't put water on them. So you would allow them to burn, like if it were to, in the unlikely case that it were to catch fire. But as we've seen, we experienced a fire in a different kind of asset back in the summer. So we've gotten very close with the fire department because of that.
Okay, I guess being aware and having them sign off are two different things, because, I mean, playing in the zoning, but be aware of something, but they're sticklers till they sign off on it, so.
Yeah.
I'd be,
Yeah, and we will work very closely with them. We'll have training with them with the help of the developer in order to get them comfortable with it.
well, so your answer to me is that we just let it burn out, the fire?
Well, it is not wise to, first, they're compartmentalized. So the thing you don't want is if there's thermal runaway in the battery stack for it to spread. So they've designed this generation of the batteries so that's, if there is thermal runaway in one, it will stay contained in one of them. And it won't spread. I think if some of the fires that you've probably seen in the news, it has been because of that issue.
Thank you.
Councilmember Keen.
Yeah, I get the advantage of seeing this last month with our PU meeting. And again, you kind of put some emphasis on when we would use them. Can you talk a little bit about that idea of being behind the meter and when we would charge them?
Yeah. So they'll be behind the meter. So that means they're on our distribution system. They're at a lower voltage. Because we are a member of SIMPA and we get our full supply up to 216 megawatts from SIMPA under that contract, we need a special variance from them in order to make it not be part of that contract so that so we can participate in that energy arbitrage in the market. So being behind the meter, if we get that exception from SIMPA, it's basically like being in front of the meter because we're treating the economics like that. But we'll still get dispatched by MISO. They'll know it's there, and they'll let us know when they want us to dispatch. So just like we do with our gas turbines and our
And that's for dispatching. Would they have the same? I'm trying to get to the point of when we would charge it and would we be using?
Sure. Well, we would look at the day ahead markets just like we do with our other peaking assets. So we kind of plan that a day ahead. So we would look at what the market load is going to be, what the market prices are forecast to be, and then we plan what we bid the assets into the market for. We'd use the same process here, except we have the additional one of seeing what we'll see what the price forecast is, and we'll say, it's going to be worth it to charge it during these hours and discharge it during those hours.
Right. I guess the point I was trying to get across, and I think it's hard in these kind of discussions, is this really isn't a new way to, this is a new way to capture and then use and dispatch energy when you need it. Yeah. But you have to capture it. You're a user. You're pulling a power off the system to charge it, and then you're using it. But what you're really doing is taking lower priced energy and using it at higher price times.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Miller.
Thanks. I was going to try and help you with the same point and say we're taking the electrons that are the cheapest and then shifting them in the time of day to when they're the most expensive and saying that's a value.
Yeah.
My question, given the complexity, I would have loved to see this presentation in the packet. I don't think it was part of the packet that I just see agreements and contracts and just, again, just a comment to all staff and a question of if the presentation is available, love to see it. Because I think there is a lot of complexity in this, but also very helpful. But I guess just to surface some other issues that you brought up, you mentioned the gas turbine lead time. What is the current lead time to order a new gas turbine?
They're running 2 to 3 years,
Okay.
And it's getting longer every day because data centers are contracting for all the supply.
Sure. So there's difficulty even if that were the cheapest to even get it. And my question about this is one of the aspects mentioned of the pro of this is that it's fairly quick to get online. Other than the tariffs that exist currently, are there other risks that would interrupt that supply in the future, perhaps? Like if this works and we're in a more favorable tariff situation, is this a replicable scale it up?
It is. One of the reasons we're trying to get this done by the end of the year is there is a investment tax credit parameter that's called FIOC. It's foreign entity of concern. Most battery cells are manufactured in China. So after January 1st, 2026,
Sure.
FEOC requirements will go into effect, and most supply from China will no longer be eligible for the investment tax credit. So that's why moving now on these projects, that's why we're taking this small step now in order to secure the investment tax credits.
Okay. And my last question is, one of the negatives about batteries was mentioned is that there's only 4 hours of capacity or 4 hours of
Yeah.
ability for them to operate in a continuous period. What is the average time of length of time during the day that a gas turbine would be energized? Like how
Yeah, one of the things with gas turbines is they don't ramp up instantly, so you do have to warm it up. So it has a little wider operating window that we typically operate them. But it is expected as more solar penetrates the footprint that we will see a peak during the day, and the peak will shift out later.
Okay.
And as that shifts out later, it may need may need a longer period to dispatch.
But I guess if we were to compare 4 hours of dispatch to a gas turbine, like how many hours on a given day would the gas turbine be running? Like,
It does vary, but it's like 4 to 6.
okay, so it's in the range.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a little bit
But we do
longer.
expect that
Sure.
to extend.
Okay.
And that's why we think, 20 megawatts is 7% of our capacity. And between now and 2030, this will be up and running. We'll be able to evaluate it fully and confirm the economics.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Keen.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the energy storage.
I was going to do the same thing.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Authorizing the energy storage service agreements with Light Shift Energy SPV LLC.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Keen and seconded by Councilmember Doring. Councilmember Keen, any more to add?
No, I guess the only kind of thing from the RPU discussion would be that this is a 20 mega, this is a smaller thing compared to what we were doing with the wind and things like that. And this is a little bit of trying to get into this thing, and this the whole idea of like, we're not really buying these, we're basically buying the outcome, or we're basically getting them into our system. So I think this is a great experiment, and I'm glad we're doing it now at the end of 2025.
Councilmember Doring, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree that it's a great experiment to see how this pans out, and if this is a future asset that we want in our community.
And I want to stress, this is not a science experiment.
I know.
It is a commercial operating
Correct.
capacity asset. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember Miller.
I guess one final question. There's been some question in the broader conversation about the value of rooftop solar residential. How might we think about this, or how does RPU think about distributed batteries if people wanted to help manage this peak? If they contract for a battery and install that at their house, which different scale but similar dynamics of it's already connected, just hook it up.
Yeah.
How does that help or not in the broader peak
management? We think having more demand response on our system would be good. Unfortunately, right now, I think residential batteries are very expensive compared to the benefit you get from them. But we think that adding them in, just like we control thermostats, if we're able to control batteries, that would be a net plus. But I think the economics need to improve before that happens.
Okay, so the message to the community, should somebody be saying, how do I help RPU? It's the project at home isn't yet scalable. A project like this at 20 megawatts is helpful.
I think we do have some batteries in the service territory, but I don't think it's difficult to get to scale before the economics make sense.
Mr. McCullough.
I'll just add a point of color to that as well. Councilmember Miller, I'll make up a number. It's close. I believe we have 8 residential battery installations to date. They're relatively nascent in technology. It's expensive. That's the reason that we don't see big adoption here. One of the value streams of this utility scale is we can get multiple value streams out of it, where that's more difficult partnering with residential customers. So the value is not always there yet for residential customers. There's still some tax credit availability, and we are partnering with customers to adopt batteries. It works really well with our time of use rate structure. I believe the city has a battery as well at the Cascade Creek or the Quarry Hill installation as well, one of those two. So it's something that's not new to the city either.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. H7, appointments to boards and commissions. This was pulled by Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, I pulled it. I didn't plan on pulling it until noon today when something was added. And for me, the packet information is out on Wednesday at 5 p.m. For transparency, it's important. Having an item show up at Monday around noon is not really acceptable. It's hard for me to ask people who these people are. My understanding is that they're great, wonderful people, but I think that those packet needs to be sent out on time. It shouldn't be a surprise. The RPU one won't be needed until the 13th. And so we could do it on the next meeting, which is the first meeting of January. So I'm going to make a motion that we table this item.
Councilmember Palmer has, are you making a motion to table the entire item or the three that were added?
The entire item.
Motion to table by Councilmember Palmer. Is there a second? Hearing no second, I'm going to go to the mayor since this is her item.
Thank you. This has been rather difficult to get all the interviews in, but we did as of Friday. And when we sent the final ones in, this one accidentally got dropped off, and I didn't notice it till this morning. But Councilmember Palmer is correct that we found out late today that January 13th is the official start date for an RPU member, different than every other board that we have. So if you would like to remove by amendment, I don't think it's necessary, but if you do, you could remove item 7, Kelsey Vasily. You could remove that item that was added today and pass the rest of them without any problem, and she could be brought back the 1st of January. So either way you want to handle it, I would recommend you choose one of the two, and I'm fine with it. It was just an oversight on staff's part.
Mayor, my understanding was that item 4 and 5 were also added today?
Those were added on Friday.
Added Friday. Okay, so so there were 6 in the original packet, and we do have our packets updated periodically on various issues. So, council, other thoughts? Councilmember Keene.
I just wanted to keep us moving here. I wanted to move approval of the 9 mayoral appointments to our city boards and commissions appointments. Appointments are in our packet, page 9.
Motion made by Councilmember Keene, is seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. Councilmember Keene?
I agree with Councilmember Palmer. These aren't the right way to do business, and the fact that there was some Friday and then another one today, I realized the mayor's office was trying to get these done. I am familiar with the one with the RPU one, and there was some different things going on, so I'm comfortable with it, and the names are already out in the public right now, so I would, I'd like us to move this tonight and be ready for 2026.
If seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to, we have no ordinance readings tonight. I think this is the first time this year for me. And no tabled items. Other business, Councilmember Palmer.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I had a couple things I was going to talk about. Two of them I thought were going to be positive. One of them is positive, and I'll handle that one first. Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, we had the Dazzle. It was a parade, the second year that we've had that in Rochester. It was a committee of 70 different volunteers, a committee that did it. Brad Trahan and his family were the lead on it. They took the responsibility on it. The number one thing that they have in their mind is safety. They did a nice job on it, and it was so nice to see as many people as you could downtown, see all the lighted items that were there, 60 different floats. I just want to give hats off to the Trahan family and all their volunteers and their committee for doing this. They did Oktoberfest, they did this. It's a niche that he's picked up on, and it's wonderful. The Rochester Running Club ran a mile before that. They raised $500 for that, and one of their major sponsors was Minnesota Treads as a sponsorship, and they're at Miracle Mile. I didn't want to go without that meeting of talking about the Dazzle.
Thank you, Councilmember, for bringing that up.
Thank you. And the last thing that I'll bring up is the article in the news today that our item was vetoed today. The council had a 7-0 vote on that. It was brought up in the article that the city attorney raised to me, the city attorney raised no issues. There was a legal issue that was brought up. And when we voted on this, the dental and health clinic is important to Rochester, and that's the reason that we voted for that. If you don't like the CIA program, change it. That's always better. I think the city council voted for prevention of the homeless, which is better. It's really no different than our Channel 1 contribution. And so one of the statements that didn't sit well with me was that it said that the Salvation Army mainly benefits private interest rather than public purpose. And I think that they have the most public purpose, trying to help people stay in their home and stuff. So those are just my comments. We'll look at the first meeting of January, but I did not want to let it sit there for the next 3 weeks. And so I'll end with making a motion to adjourn.
Before we have a motion to adjourn, since you did bring that up, Councilmember Palmer, and it is, the veto will be on our agenda on the first meeting of the year. I did want to give the mayor an opportunity to respond if she so.
Point of order. A motion was made to adjourn. We have a second.
It's fine.
That ends the debate.
That's fine. I'll deal with it first of January.
There's a motion to adjourn, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned.
Happy 2025.